The NFL playoff action continues, and we are one step closer to Super Bowl 57. And for the NFL divisional round, I'd encourage you guys to check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DEFININGDUKE. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL divisional round and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook and only with code DEFININGDUKE. Remember, minimum age and eligibility restrictions do apply, so make sure you see the show notes for details. Again, that's DraftKings Sportsbook and code DEFININGDUKE.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 106 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by Cognito Direct.
I like that. We direct with it. I like that.
Yeah.
Man, the Dukes are back, talking what's... Man, there's a lot to talk about. A lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. First of all, shout out to Mr. Matty reporting on the scene live from the area.
Yeah.
You're still with the hand mic. What's up, bro? What's going on? Beat reporter on the scene. Let's go.
You know what's happening is I got this list of like major tasks that I'm doing, right? And I'm very focused this year on creating balance, creating room. So these kind of extracurricular activities that will hold me here for a while fall to the back of my mind. And then when I finally remember them, I'm like, I don't have the tools here. So the goal this week is to get this bad boy back on the mic arm. All I need is an axle tool. When it fell out, I was like, oh, I know how to fix this. I was like, I'll get it after the holiday break. And then I finish up a day of work. I'm like, I'll get it tomorrow. And then I drive in here and I'm like, I forgot the tool. Like, all right, I'll hold it for another day. Who cares, right? Like, I'm just surviving out here. So for those who are not watching our show, I've had to hold my mic for the last month for all of these episodes you've heard me on, including my videos too. The only time I'm using a mic arm is on Retro Rebound because that room's set up. So we're good over there, but this mic arm has failed me. It's also because you can kind of see, if I lift my camera, you can kind of see there's that wooden thing over there. Mm-hmm. And that is where my mic arm sits, right? And it is busted. The wheels fell off. Dude, it's terrible.
It's done. It's
terrible. So
damn.
I got a whole setup overall to do, and I'm like, well, my lease is up in a couple of months. How much do I want to invest here?
I got you.
So we're stuck right now, man. But I got to fix the mic arm at the very least. I just don't know how I'll get the arm over here. But enough on that. We have a lot to address this episode before we get into promotions, any of that stuff. First things first. Our good friend HogLeg, Richard HOEG. There's a GoFundMe now available for him. If you wish to go that extra mile, you wish to support our good friend of the show, you can go ahead and do so. Right now, the funding is doing really well. I'm personally going to support later today once I get a free moment, but that is available for you all to check out. So if you ever once enjoyed HOEG on DDU, or you appreciate what he brought to the community, or you just want to help out a family struggling that wants to get their man back, then please go ahead, check out that GoFundMe and support our very good friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we mentioned it. Shout out to Mrs. HOEG, Lord Team HOEG. Shout out to the homie Rick, man. He's on the mend. And just one thing I want to add to this as far as the human aspect, as far as rehab and recovery. And a lot of people think that once you survive the major thing, whether it be stroke or you come out of surgery, that's it. Obviously in his case, he had major surgery, but the rehab is going to be the most important part. And the reason why, full disclosure, I'll give something personal up. I rarely do. But I actually was diagnosed with Bell's palsy. They caught it very quickly. It just was a random occurrence. I went to Connecticut. I remember like it was yesterday. I went to Connecticut. It was like some outdoor concert kind of thing. Sat, and then I just felt weird coming home. And then a friend of mine was like, yo, your whole side of your face, bro, what's up? And I'm like, yo, what's going on? What you mean? And I looked, and with horror, my joint was doing the droop. Like it's almost if I had a stroke. So I was like, yo, what is going on? It freaked me out. rushed to the ER. Luckily, they was like, it's good that you went and addressed it immediately. They put me on a steroid or whatever. They said they didn't have to do any surgery, but they were like, you need to see a therapist and you need rehab immediately, because what happens is a lot of people, if they don't, and again, shout out to Ms. HogLeg, she put this up on her Twitter about how quick she was to respond to realize Rick was having a stroke. The Hogue was having a stroke. So it's those key, quick decisions instead of being tough and go to the ER.
Go to the doctor.
Go to the ER. So I went, boom, and they was able to refer me to.
It was nothing serious. I had no idea.
Bro, a lot of people are surprised when I tell them, like, you look normal. I'm like, I can tell small little things, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's because I know myself, you know what I'm saying? But I was beat up every day. Some shock therapy joint. Shout out to the little Filipino woman in the rehab. She was like, you're gonna hate me, but you're gonna recover. So shout out to Hogue. It's not about me, but I wanted to let people know about recovery and rehab. It's harder than anything you've ever going to do, and he's going to need the strength. So if you want to support, go to the GoFundMe, support our brother.
Powerful story there. No, seriously, it's a good message, and it kind of does tie into what we're going to talk about next. But of course, a reminder again, go support Hogue, go support his family, Mrs. HogLeg. There will be a GoFundMe available for you to do so.
Yes.
This also kind of ties into the second thing that is more pertinent to our show, which is the future of DDU. So Colin announced it over on the Patreon. You can see the post there, but for those who didn't catch it, didn't read it yet, the long and short of it is that we are moving Defining Duke Ultimate to a bi-weekly cadence. What's going to happen now is Constellation is going to be weekly. We'll talk about just the general health of the product in a moment, but the real motivator behind this was Cog and I. We clearly do a lot beyond Last Stand Media, and that's no disrespect to anyone within Last Stand who have their own obligations. Just like in my case, I'm running 2 full-time YouTube channels. I'm directing a video game on top of this, on top of my personal life and all the commitments that come with that, right? So it can stack up pretty quickly. We love what we do, and we just wanted to make sure we were giving everyone 100%. And as, at least in my case, the year came to a wrap, I can't say I was, because I was unable to. I was completely burnt out, and I really needed that time away. As many people know, I've scaled down Mr. Matty, 4 uploads a week now. Retro Rebound's going strong at 2 uploads a week. I like it that way. And the next thing was Cog and I coming together and being like, okay, we feel like DDU's, for a lack of better terms, kind of become a problem. You know, there are a lot of weeks where we spin our wheels. There's a lot of weeks where we feel like we're doing it just for the sake of cadence. And in the spirit of LSM delivering quality over quantity, you know, the talk we had with Colin, which wasn't much of like, hey, how can we convince you? It was more like, here's how we're feeling. And immediately we all agreed, you know, we're going to find a solution that kind of limits the workload. And to make DDU stronger, it was like, okay, let's find a balance here. So you're going to see us more on like Sacred Symbols Plus. You're going to see us more on Constellation. And DDU will still be a thing. It'll be a thing that occasionally goes out to free feeds. But I think for the health of DD, my personal belief, and I try not to let that interfere with the workings of LSM, has always been this is how it should have been with biweekly DDU, because I feel like we're still trying to grow the main product a lot before we really come and ask you to check out Patreon and deliver on a weekly cadence. And it, you know, what I've learned in my time with YouTube is you got to give yourself room to scale up. It's really easy to go to 200% and over deliver for your audience when you think things are going to go well. But I feel like we, you know, with Retro Rebound, what it taught me is like, I could do 3 uploads a week, maybe 4. But what if I just did 2 for a long time? And when it was really time to move up to 3, like we did that when we had an eager, large scale, like 500,000 sub audience, like then it's a little different, right? And I think that could have been, if you will, a mistake we made with Defining Duke. So it's kind of amended now, and it's all in the spirit of health as well, which is why I said it kind of interestingly connects you. Cog, I'll share a story of my own, so you're not not out on an island. It's funny because this was today. This last like week or so, my ears have been popping a shit ton. It's been popping a shit ton. And you mentioned face stuff. Like my face was kind of like tingly at times. I was like, all right, really weird timing here. So I go to a doctor right away, and he looked at my ear. He's like, you know, nothing serious is going on, but he starts telling me about the tympanic nerve membrane, which is within your ear. And he was telling me that like, you're okay right now, but he's like, it looks really irritated. Now, for those who don't know about this particular membrane, pretty much what's happening is because of how much I wear these headphones, I am fucking with my hearing big time, and I could be doing damage to my eardrums. So,
Oh, wow.
got to figure something out for that in the terms of like speaker system, microphone setup, where I can get these headphones off a lot more. Because he was like, "Do you wear headphones?" I'm like, "I have pretty much worn headphones every day of my life since probably sophomore year of high school."
Oh, wow.
You know, Turtle Beach, headphones,
Oh, yeah.
computer work, just every day. And I've always been moderate with the volume. I'm not like someone who blasts it, but in the gym, certainly.
But blast off.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And, you know, so it was just, the timing was interesting as we dial this back, that's something I learned about myself where he's like, you know, it's not like you've lost any hearing yet, but you could keep walking this path and you'll regret it. So again, in the spirit of what we've been trying to do with ourselves is create the best, healthiest versions of us to deliver to you. And I think that makes the show great. Like, I think last week's episode was a perfect example of what happens. We're on good rest. We're feeling good. Of course, we're topic fueled. That helps a lot.
Of course.
And I think you're going to see it in this episode as well, that when we're rejuvenated, when we have that 2 podcast a week limit, which is what we kind of set here on Last Stand, like we're only going to do Cog and I 2 episodes a week of something, that we're not stretched thin. Our thoughts are better, more concise. Like, there were definitely moments during DD last year, where I'd be like mid sentence and I'm like, where the hell was I going with this? Like, I was just, and that's being a human, but I was so burnt that I was losing myself mid topic. And that's not like me. I consider myself really focused. So I'm talking a lot, Cog. I, of course, want you to chime in, but that's kind of what's going on with the future of DDU and a lot of the reasoning behind our changes beyond what Colin had written.
No, absolutely. Well said. I mean, I think that obviously mostly everyone knows, including yourself, that, you know, I love DDU. There's no doubt. I do love the isolated aspect of it. But, you know, the reality is, you know, like you said earlier, you know, full-time job, you know, I'm running a LLC for Lords Podcast, you know, the responsibilities of lordsgaming.net, and all of that does compile itself. And then obviously I travel a lot. So, you know, I have to be, one of the things looking at coming into the new year was just being honest as far as stretching myself thin, burnout. Obviously, we talked about HOEG and his situation, and then I talked about my situation and how I got to be cognizant of it. So the great conversation with Colin was awesome, and I think it was the right call. You know, 2 episodes a week, and then in fairness, right? You know, Constellation is something that, you know, really, it sounds pretty cool. A lot of people have gained a lot of interest to it. Yeah. And, you know, if we can jump on there as part of one of those, you know, 2 episodes with the mainline DD always being there. Like, that's one thing.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I should have said that at the top.
Mainland DD, it's not going anywhere. We will always be there for that. That's our baby. DDU is just going to go to a bi-weekly cadence. And then during the times when we're not doing a DDU, you may see us on a crossover. Yeah. You may see us on a, you know what I'm saying, on a Constellation. I think it's better for balance, because there were times where Matty and I, you know, we're burning the candle, and, you know, it ends up, you're like, damn, we got 4 podcasts, we got to do this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We got 3 podcasts. And that's the cool thing about Colin and the team. And they were like, look, we don't want to burn you guys out. And this was the resolution that we came with. So I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be, perfectly said, better for the show quality and health, with us at our best and high energy and ready to rock. So I think it's good.
Yeah. And people got to also remember one thing is that I guess we had the blessing, if you will, where our last conversation with HOEG was literally after DDU. We sat down, we talked about what was going on with Activision Blizzard. And when it wrapped up, we had like a podcast, if you will, just talking about life, talking about where we're at with our work, how tired we are. And not that it took whatever happened to HOEG to kind of make us make a change, but you look at that and you're just, there's something spiritual about it, where you're just like, okay, we need to take a look at ourselves, because HOEG was Superman to us, right? So, you know, if something happened to him, it's like, I'm not far removed from it. And, you know, and obviously in your case too. So it's just one of those things where it spoke to us on a deeper level, and we knew beyond anything we had going on in our personal lives, we had to make those changes. So absolutely. Like Cog said, DD every week. And I honestly think just my last point is I didn't like how we were all so segmented to our own corners. I think what numbers wise, might I add, as someone who observes the numbers quite often, noticed is what brings us great strength is when we're together, whether it be the live events, the crossovers.
Yes.
People like when Last Stand's together. So I think this will be a great year for us on that, because we're going to get more voices involved in everything, and not really define our products by the brand, but by just what we want to talk about. And that's why y'all are great. Let's just cap it off with that, which is your support on Patreon makes that type of decision possible. If like we were really crunching numbers hard and all that stuff, that probably wouldn't have been an option for us. But because of your support every month, it does go a long way. Where like I should just keep it transparent. As always, like Colin didn't cut our pay. He didn't change shit for us. Like he just was like, all right, you're gonna do pretty much less, and we're gonna put that limit there. And I told him, I was like, you can cut my pay. Like I really don't want to sink the ship here. And he was like, no, we're fine. We're doing well. So again, just in the spirit of transparency, like, this is just I'm very thankful for Colin. I'm very thankful for what he did for us, and he thinks of the better of people. And so, just big shout out to him, man. Great guy.
Shout out to Colin. Shout out to the team. Well said, man. Because again, not other shops might not allow. You know what I'm saying? That and to have that awareness and empathy for what's going on is truly commendable. So salute to the team. Salute to Cobra Commander.
Family
doing
here.
His thing. Fam. You already know.
All right, we got some funny write-ins here. Let's break it up a little bit. Let's talk with the audience. Let's start with Sneakerhead24. Cog, I'm sorry, man, but when you admitted this, I was like, someone's writing in. And I was just going to wait for that moment. I wasn't going to call you out mid-show. I was going to do this to you, but I'm going to let Sneakerhead do it, all right? Go. Hold on, Dukes. Did I hear correctly on DD105 that Cog didn't even finish Deathloop? His 2021 game of the year that at the time he hadn't even played yet? How am I to take this man's pick seriously for 2022? Surely a punishment must be in order for this atrocity. Have I didn't start or finish my game of the year pick kind of day. Cog, I gotta know what you have to say for yourself here, brother.
Oh, you want to know what I have to say?
I'm so curious.
No, shout out to Sneakerhead. This is official. We not running from the smoke. This is official. Deathloop has not been finished, and that is accurate. That is very accurate, and I am guilty as charged. There's no doubt about it. All I will say for myself is, still love the game. The problem is COG has a hierarchy system, and this is just brutally honest with LSM fam. The way I operate is I have excitement for something I'm ready to play. I'll start playing it, but COG has a hierarchy system, and there are things that come above all: XCOM, Tekken, Destiny, Final Fantasy, Mass Effect. There's certain games, and when they come out, it's like, I don't want to. It's like you always got that love for something. It's like, I'm sorry, but that my old thing came back, and when my old thing comes back, there's nothing no one's going to tell me, because I'm at an age now where in order for me to have the most enjoyment in gaming, I have to play what I love first, the most. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this is. Everything will be paid. All debts will be paid. You know what I'm saying? So don't get me wrong. Soul hackers. Yes. Soul hackers. You know what I'm saying? I didn't forget you. You know what I mean? Deathloop. I didn't forget you. It's getting done. It's just a matter of, bro, case in point. This is the last thing I'll say on it, because I've been called out, rightfully so. The last thing I'll say about it is I had the whole plan during the holiday. I'm like 2-3 weeks. Oh, it's going down. Let's go Deathloop. Let's go High on Life. Let's go Soul Hackers. All these joints. I'm ready to go. I got all the time in the world. But Cog said, Midnight Suns is out. And you know how you feel about that. So 100 hours went into Midnight Suns.
Dude, that's so funny, because you would have finished all those games and then some.
Bro, I had it. I was ready, but my mind was like, you're supposed to finish these, but my heart was like, but you love this.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get out of this dream. You love, and that's what happens to me. And that's the honest truth. But I always pay my debts. Sneakerhead, you got me. I will be back. I will take care of Deathloop, and we will right the wrong, because Cog's a bad as word. He'll get it right.
Look, I'm like that Vince Carter picture of him like saying, I got one more in me. Like anytime someone brings up Deathloop, I got one more joke in me. Like, I'm just saying, I don't think you're missing much. I'm just being real with you. Like, I just don't think you're missing much. Like, I totally agree. Maybe hold his feet to the fire a little bit, but are we really, if you drop Dishonored or Prey, I think it would be a bigger conversation, but you dropped the inferior product. Like you did what any rational human would do. I don't hold you accountable for that, man. You're good. You're
For
good.
the record, I enjoyed it. Like I'm having fun. She's coming in, she's terrorizing, and the acting, the voice actor is hilarious. He's like, yo, what the? Like I'm loving the whole dynamic. But again, it was just a hierarchy of love. So that's all. Cog is gonna get back to
we
you,
don't
baby.
love
We'll spend some time
dude.
with
I'm
you.
so happy to have you here supporting me on this mission, man. Thank you.
I hate you. That was a good one. I can't fight. Technically, I am ranking something my way. You spend it. I feel that. Respect. I gotta take my L.
Kunai Party has another question for us. Hey, Stealth Pooper Matty and Health is Wealth Cog. Your conversation, about being Sam Fisher in the toilet stalls really spoke to my soul and led to a follow-up question. I'm Sam Fisher in the stalls as well. Unless somebody walks into the bathroom on speakerphones, I immediately unleash the full fury upon the toilet bowl like it just told me Starfield is being delayed. Which led me to my question. Do you have any pet peeves that drive you absolutely crazy while you're in public? For me, as you would have guessed, it's people playing on their phones with their volume on because they're too inconsiderate to use headphones. Thanks, and have a 2023 is looking really promising, but I'm a Mets fan and should know better kind of day. And did we learn the Minnesota Twins showed up? Oh my God, man.
We didn't even talk about that, right? That Correa situation.
Dude.
Someone had the
That's how you just kill the morale of the show. Just remember
talk about the Mets. Yeah, someone showed me had a meme of like it was like Vince McMahon. It said like Correa's time with the Mets or whatever. It was just like it was like Vince McMahon. He was like, oh, he was special.
He was special.
We didn't have him officially on the it was bad.
Oh, but my God.
Shout out to my man, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man on Kanai Party. As far as pet peeves, all right, so we definitely agree with the stealth. Me and you share that.
I got one. Right
okay. So for me, I know what it is. You know what I hate, Manny? I'm very focused. Like, Kyle go to get his gym on. And I get in, I come in with a nice set plan. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're gonna do shoulders, we're gonna do raises, then I'm gonna do, gorilla press. I have a set plan. Then you get going, and it'd be that one dude at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And he means well. He's really excited to be there. You know what I'm saying? And for whatever reasons, you got a shirt on that he relate to, or whatever reason. This dude wants to have a full conversation in mid-rep. Now, don't even wait for Cog to put the weights down. Don't even wait. And I'm like, and then Cog is kind, I'll indulge you for a few minutes. And it's like, bro, like not only one, you talking, you see my earphones in the ear.
Yeah.
Two, you see me working out in mid-set. You didn't even wait for the set to be over. Three, then you don't got no internal clock to be like, okay, I'm talking to him wild long. It's like more than 10 minutes. And the man do need to get his work on. You know what I'm saying? And it's just
bro, when you take those long rests, you throw the whole body out of whack, you can eliminate the whole workout. I think it's one of the most selfish things someone can do. I told you the story about my Purdue shirt when I showed up to the gym. The guy's like, oh, Purdue alumni? I'm like, no, I went to community college, bro. I was just like, no, I didn't go to that university. He's like, yeah, I went there. I partied. I banged blessed girl. I'm like, I don't fucking care, man. I don't care. I'm trying to do a bench right now. Like, get out of here. And he just talked my ear off. And I'm like, man, should I even be here now?
Don't get like there's times when it's positive if someone comes over like, hey, I saw you doing that exercise or that movement. How does that help you?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's different.
Dude, tips are great. Love that.
Yeah. And I'll give ball. Oh, yo, bro, can I get a spot? Okay, fine. That's different. And then you do your business and then I'm out. I'm back to what I got to get to. But I'm the same like you. Like every minute that expires of me not working out in between set, I feel like I'm losing my gains. Talking.
Yeah, literally in real time. It's got to be psychosomatic, but in real time, you're like, my muscles are getting softer.
My muscles evaporated. What's going on?
Yeah. You lose the blood pump. That's what happens. Yeah. I totally feel on that. Yep.
Yo, bro, me and you the same because I'm addicted to the lactic acid pump.
Yeah.
When you get that, you feel as if you
walk out and you're not tight like that. You're just like, I got a good workout.
What? Anyway, so that's mine. What is your pet peeve?
Kids crying in public. Take your child out of the goddamn room, please, for the love of God. Especially when I've been at church and they're preaching the good word of Jesus Christ, and this motherfucker next to me is screaming in my ear, and they just, the dad's just patting him on the back. I'm like, dog, that ain't helping. Take him out of the room, tell him to cut it out, or whatever dads do, and that's it, man. But like, this kid just keeps screaming and crying and crying and crying. I'm like, oh, Lordy, please have mercy. But like, everyone's expected in a room of like 50 people to be patient with this. And I get it. Like, sometimes you just don't know what the kid's going to do. He's going to cry or poop his pants or whatever. You just don't know what's going to happen. But when it goes on for minutes and the kid's just not stopping, much like the gym fellow, you have the decency to be like, okay, I'm disturbing the great message of the Lord here. I'm going to step outside for a little bit. I'm going to handle little Johnny. Once he's done having his fit, I'm going to step back in and continue to receive. But instead, what occurs is they just sit there, and all you hear while this priest is on the top just going off is, I'm just like, oh my God, man, stop. So to me, that's absolutely it. Like it's funny. This whole rant comes at a perfect time because
let's go. Something
cool happened in my life just yesterday that I'll talk about years from now. Mm-hmm. When I posted it, though, people thought I was having a kid. It's just like,
oh yes, your Twitter. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I knew what was going on, but I figured they might not know what's going on.
Yeah. And I posted it, and people were like, "Whoa, you're dad now?" I'm just like, "Fuck them kids." No. I'm that Michael Jordan photo, right? Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids.
That's my energy right now. I mean, fortunately, I have a fiance who holds that same energy. Right now, we're way too young and immature to want to have a kid. I'd be so lost. So I know you're technically never ready. That's what I always hear. But I know I'm not ready now. So that's where I stand firm right now. And if anyone's listening to this and you have a kid and you go to like church or a quiet location and they start crying, pull that man out the room. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you on that. It's just wild, annoying, and it's just such a disturbance in the room. And you tell about at church, that's crazy.
That's where I think of it. Like, it's happened in other settings I cannot name, but in the church, man.
Yeah,
family gatherings.
They pulled you to the back, and you cry. You gonna cry even more when we get a hold of you in this back. You gonna learn to be quiet. Like, I'm from that era, so there's seasons beatings. That's how it used to go. Like, what? Pow pow. Anyway.
The NFL playoff action continues, and we are one step closer to Super Bowl 57. And for the NFL divisional round, I'd encourage you guys to check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. If you're a new customer with DraftKings, you can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. And whether you're a new customer or not, you can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. You can boost up your winnings with each leg. You add up to 100%. Now, for me, personally, this playoff season, the Steelers are out. That's my team. That's who I root for. They stunk this year. I'm sorry. It's just true. They're out. But for you, maybe there's a team you're looking forward to, and I would highly recommend that you check out DraftKings' offer. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DEFININGDUKE. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL divisional round and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook and only with code DEFININGDUKE. Remember, minimum age and eligibility restrictions do apply, so make sure you see the show notes for details. Again, that's DraftKings Sportsbook and code DEFININGDUKE.
All right, let's get into the game news now. We got a little bit to go through before we get into a pretty stacked news week. Let's start off with Forza Horizon 5. Got a couple of beats for you here. First and foremost, the new Xbox Series X bundle. Look at you, dressed for the occasion. It's coming out at $550, and it is packaged with the premium edition. Like I said, Forza Horizon 5. So another option for fans. But I think what's more interesting, Cog, and we'll kind of talk about this all in one, Forza Horizon 5's creative director, alongside multiple other Playground Games employees, have left the team to start their own new studio to build a premium open world game. Now, our write-in here is from Max Gale, who says, Dukes, sorry to double dip, but Maverick Studios has just been announced. That's the name of the team that they formed. It's a UK-based studio formed of Playground alumni, mostly the Horizon team, it seems. This trend seems to happen more and more, with the big-name studios often breaking off and creating their own studio, similar to Something Wicked Games, which is comprised of former Obsidian and Bethesda alumni, plus more. My question comes here, does Xbox put a big focus on these studios and make sure they're on Xbox no matter what? or do they let them do their own business as usual? They already know the talent there per se, so making sure their games are at least locked in on their platform seems like a no-brainer. This is without getting into acquisition talks or exclusivity deals, maybe even marketing rights. Have a great day. Thank you for writing in, Max. So yeah, Cog, busy week for a little bit of Playground Games news here. Where do you want to start, whether it be the Quick Series X bundle or what's going on with Maverick Studios?
I mean, the big one obviously is Maverick. We'll get to it, but yeah, the bundle. I'm actually surprised at how late that is that they actually doing bundles like that. Yeah, I'm like, and then obviously you got to look at perceived value, but look, I probably they give you the premium edition. I get it. Again, Forza to me should have been something that they've been doing. So, cool for them to get ahead of it, but that's what it is. But as far as the meaty stuff, we're getting into the playground. Look, man, this was surprising to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Two reasons. One, Mr. Brown, he's a legend, man. He's a legend. I mean, Forza Horizon series is I mean, you could make the argument for Playground as far as one of the absolute pillars in Xbox Game Studios that doesn't miss. And obviously Forza Horizon 5, pinnacle. They rolled off into the sunset. They're still dropping content, the Hot Wheels and all that other stuff. So, and then we know that they're making Fable, right? We do know that they're going to do on Fable. So, I guess the reason why I was surprised is that in the industry, people move around, and I get that part, right? And there's burnout, there's all this other stuff, and then there's also, and I want to shout out Neil Druckmann. Right quick, because he just did, shout out to Gene Park, he was on Washington Post, and he did a good interview with them, and he talked about, one of the things that to make the greats kind of stay happy is having that creative license and that creative control to do what you want to do, right? Now, we do know Xbox Game Studios as a whole, for what we hear, right? They allow you to make your projects, right? We had the legend, Josh Sawyer on, right? On DDU. And he talked about, hey, I want to make this, right? And Pentiment comes out, and it's this very self-contained thing that he wanted to do. May not have been the AAA space, but that's what he wanted to do. That's where his heart was at the time. Now, us as gamers, sometimes, let's be honest, we want the AAA banger, whatever. Sure. Yeah. Now, I'm tying this back to Mr. Brown. Look, I don't have any inside information on this. I'm just speculating. This man has been part of this Forza Horizon team, one of the greatest racing games and most successful racing games. And we know that 10-year anniversary, that this thing is raking, especially after this last one, which kind of finally made Forza mainstream. We're talking Game of the Year kind of nominations. So all I can speculate is say, if you've been in a corporation and you're kind of tied to this franchise, sometimes that cadence says, you got to make the next one. You got to make the next one. And the reason why I say this is because, again, not to name drop, I had Jason Rubin on, the original founder of Naughty Dog, right? Him and Andy Gavin. One of the questions I asked him, I was like, bro, you were killing it with Crash, killing it with Jack and Dexter. Why just leave? Why get out the game? And he's like, bro, the pressure to keep, when you have something that's successful, the big, they want it to keep coming. You see what I'm saying? So the pressure to do it, and you just either want to A, get away or do something different. And that's my gut here. My gut here is he probably wanted to do something different. You know what I mean? And there's no testament like, oh, Xbox is evil, that they're forcing it. This all they want. But sometimes you're locked into a project, you know what I'm saying? And you want to just creatively do something. Because I'm looking at what Maverick Studios, and the key thing I'll say, and this is the final point I'll say, is look at the statements he said. First of all, look at the name of the studio. I don't care what nobody said. Right? And he even admitted it in the Game Industry.biz article. Yeah, that used to come up about performance reviews. I'm kind of a Maverick. He wanted to do an open world game. This is his passion. And salute to him. Someone dropped a bag on a publisher level. That's rare. To get the publisher bag, and now you get 10 people, and these are people you closely work with, and say, hey, I'm about to start my own thing. You want to get that? So I can't knock the man to have that opportunity presented to himself and take off with that. That, to me, it's rare you see it, but often, but in this climate. but it's cool that he's going to get the chance to live his dream. So salute to him. I think they'll be fine. Playground, it was a surprise to me. I did get some confirmation because at first another theory that I thought was like, well, maybe he was on the Fable team, or they told, he wanted to use the engine or something. You know what I'm saying? Now, because the rumors, kind of cooked.
Yeah.
I was confirmed, no, he's not. He was not part of that. He was not part of working on any Fable team or something like that.
There's so much concern around that game, and it's just coming out of nowhere because no one's heard anything for so long.
Right. So again, me being fearful, like, yo, what if they made him, it was the engine fight and he wanted to do his own thing. They're like, no, he's not. I was like, okay, cool. It was just Forza that he, from my understanding, he was there at Playground. So salute to him. But I'm curious on your thoughts here. Do you have concern? Or, you feel opposite of me, or like just where you at when this news hit that, not only himself, a couple other industry vets have.
I don't read too negatively into this one because I think part of what is so special about the video games industry is, it's funny because I also consider it like one of its weaknesses, but nepotism is very strong in our line of work. And I guess in any line of work, but especially here, you can move up the chain pretty quickly and get opportunities that others would kill for if you know the right people. And so here with Forza Horizon 5, the way I could view it, and again, I'm speculating alongside you, is you have a talented guy and a talented group of people who have delivered banger game after banger game, have made lots of money for a company, and they may just be kind of hearing that knock of, well, Forza Horizon 6 in Japan would be pretty nice. And they're like, you know what? Now's the time to fly to Nest. Why is it perfect time? Because yes, as Cog said, you got that mainstream look, if you will, at Forza Horizon 5, where it was not just like to this corner of the internet where it was being played a lot, but you weren't hearing a lot about it. Like, it was on all the main gaming websites. People were tracking the player count, 20 plus million players, like insane numbers for Forza Horizon 5, right? And what happens when you have something like that is you can now put that on your resume. And when you speak to a publishing label, like, I can only say so much from my current experience because I am contracted up the ass in some regard here. But what effectively occurs is some companies will be more interested in you if you've made a thing versus if you're new coming in and you don't have a thing and you're working on a thing. All of it is about investors being as risk averse as possible. This man delivered what is considered one of the on a creative level, one of the best racing games of all time, made a megacorp a ton of money alongside his team, and showed great management skills as they continue to deliver hit after hit with it. That's probably a safer investment than, you could even say myself, like coming in with a new team. We haven't released the game yet, right? So what I love about the industry is you have the ability to build up your name and go do your own thing, which is what everyone ultimately wants, right? You don't want to answer to someone. You want to go be your own boss and do what you want. That's what my whole mantra was. Like, I wanted to run my own studio, not join another one, because I wanted to call the shots, not because I'm a control freak, but because I don't like always answering to other people. I walked that road for a decent amount of time. I was like, no, like, I'm just not for me. So I think it's great that people can earn these opportunities through portfolio. And I'm sure it's a blending of it all, right? It could be a little like, I don't want to do another racing game. I have the opportunity to chase my dreams. We have a suitor. We have an investor. And there is something to be said about leaving AAA to work with a smaller team.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine, like, right now I'm a team of 7, or we're a team of 7, I should say. And it's not tough to manage, but it's just like, I prefer it this way. Like, everyone's kind of nimble and wearing a lot of hats. The idea of having like the size of my team being just an art division or just being the programming division is insane to me. I'm like, tip of the cap. Like, that shit is not easy. So these people earn their opportunities. And I think it's great that they're able to go out and chase what they ultimately wanted to make, maybe long term. And it's a long road getting there. Maybe it's shorter for others, but it's awesome that some of these Playground Games devs get to go out and try it. To answer Max's question here on, does Xbox go and nab them up? Do they do business with them as per usual? This, again, is where nepotism, if you will, can do its thing, where there's a familiarity there of like, hey, we trust you, but it's not going to be an automatic deal for them because, again, they have to see the game, see the product, see the vision, evaluate it, see how close they want to get to it. And typically, as we've learned with Xbox, they like to invest in the later stages of development because they're trying to fuel Game Pass. And when you know what a thing's going to be, then they can invest more than what we're seeing with a lot of their first party stuff where they were investing from the beginning, and we see how long that takes. So that's kind of my read of what's going on here, Max, and overall what's happening at Maverick. And I'm excited for that team. It seems like they might be cooking something pretty cool.
Yeah, they got A-class talent. And last thing I will add to it was, to the question, which I don't think I answered, which was, in reference, I was rambling, reference to, whether or not Xbox, I don't think they'll get any preferential treatment in that respect. I mean, yes, there is some nepotism of Valve. You never know his relationships that's there over the years. But I think their goal is maybe to be multi-platform as well. We'll see. But the last thing I want to say is looking over Mike Brown's resume, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it's 2013. He was there for 5 years, principal game designer for Forza Horizon 3, Hot Wheels DLC.
Hot Wheels.
Yep, the hottest version. Remember when that came out?
Yeah, that was a big deal.
That was then. Yeah, he also has Forza Horizon 4 in the resume. Then he bumped up to creative director, and he's did Forza Horizon 5 and Horizon 5 Hot Wheels. So 9 years at Playground. 9 years. It's a long time. And even before that, he was at 7 years at Evolution Studios. He did Drive Club. He did MotorStorm RC. So it's like...
I love for racing games, man. Holy hell.
you see, right? So think about that. You did 9 at Playground, all racing. You did to Evolution. He was before that, Evolution Studios, 7 years, all racing. And he literally said at Maverick, he wants to do something open world. It comes a time, burnout is real. We talked about it, right? Yeah. Sometimes you need to do something different. So I don't necessarily automatically red flag. The only thing that was funny was the name of the studio was Maverick. I thought that was like, I'm doing our own thing.
I like it. I like the energy, though. That's the type of stuff I love in these teams, all right? Just put your chest out.
I like Mike. Salute to him, man. I remember when he came out on the Forza Horizon conference, that thing blew us away when they showed like the landscape of Mexico. I thought it was still like a video, and then they swat and it was the cars. I was like, I was like, Playgrounds outside. Salute to him, man. He's going to do great where he goes.
I didn't do that, but I digress.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were rolling your eyes.
I was taking a piss break.
You're like, more Forza again.
Yeah. That was my pee break. That'll be a good thing about Developer Direct. It doesn't seem like there's room for that. Sounds good to me. All right, just a quick update on Halo on Paramount. I thought this was interesting that according to the Wall Street Journal, it was the #1 show for Paramount Plus last year, eclipsing the shows Yellowstone and 1883. So pretty interesting to see, and they did renew it for a second season right away, and I think we know why now. It was the best thing they had. So not that the competition is fierce over on Paramount Plus, but it's #1 show for Halo. That's saying a little something.
Shout out to Master Cheeks. Do your thing, man.
Speaking with Halo 343, they said that their 2023 roadmap is still on track. So I know this is a concern for some with delays and whatnot. We suspected COG after the managerial swapping that perhaps things would be a little more steady here and that we could rely on certain dates that we're putting on things. And it looks like at least for season 3, things are holding firm right now, which is exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah, salute to them. Final Forge is popping. I know that. So hopefully they continue on.
All right, next up, NetEase. We got a little acquisition here. They have acquired Halo and Minecraft co-developer SkyBox Labs. Not super familiar with SkyBox Labs, but still, I always like to support my man Lord Acquisition here and throw every single purchase in the industry in this stock.
I'm for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was surprising. Interesting to watch this relationship. I didn't see NetEase is getting real cozy. I will say that.
Oh yeah, they're making their presence felt.
Very cozy with Microsoft on a lot of things too. Yeah, they've been around. I've seen them from the Destiny days too. Yeah, I was like, okay, eyebrows up. Didn't see this coming.
Indeed. So we'll see what happens next with NetEase, but you make a great point. They have been getting a little cozy with Xbox with like Naraka Blade Point. And I think, aren't they helping out with the Destiny Bungie mobile thing? So
they said Destiny.
They're in your circle big time.
Yep, and the mobile. I keep hearing their name all the time. NetEase is out here a lot. Yeah. They've been in the mix. Very interesting. Yep.
We will monitor closely.
Yes.
Just a little update here on Activision Blizzard. The CMA has decided to extend its investigation period of Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition from March 1st, 2023 to a deadline of April 26th, 2023. So just a little bit shy of 2 months delayed, but obviously the big one we're waiting on is the FTC, but just a little small heads up on this one with the CMA.
Yeah, just waiting for a resolution either way. That's where I'm at with this.
Here's a pretty big deal, I would say. Ubisoft has canceled 3 unannounced projects and delayed Skull and Bones yet again. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot said that Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope underperformed, as did Just Dance 2023, which was typically a staple success for them. Back in July of 2022, you may remember, Ubisoft had announced that they canceled Splinter Cell VR, Ghost Recon Frontline, and 2 other unannounced titles. So, Cog, we're looking at a total of 5 unannounced projects canceled, another delay for Skull and Bones, which they even said that maybe 2024. This thing was supposed to come out in the first quarter of this year. You got to remember, Prince of Persia has been delayed for a long time. This isn't looking good for them, man. You can't imagine this is not a significant red flag. There is too much going under right now for them. And what's a shame is, a lot of people were hoping that they'd start to take more risks with Ubisoft, right? Like with Assassin's Creed Mirage, we haven't seen it yet, but sounding like this kind of return to the formula and a smaller, tighter game that's not going to be bloated. That's what we were looking for. But now with seeing all of this, I'm like, how much of that can we expect from them as they are really putting things on the chopping block? So what's your read on the situation here with Ubisoft?
Yeah, man. It's like, I don't want to get too crazy, but yeah, I'm with you. I think there are some flags here. There's some flags. You know, prior to that, we heard about. I always look at when companies start to tell you about like these roadmaps, right? Like sometimes like non-provoked, where it's just like, hey, you know, we're gonna do this, all these Assassin's Creed games, and we're gonna remember they had like this whole lineup. And when you start to see that, right? The question is, who is this for?
Yep. Good point.
Who are you getting all dressed
You're
up
not
for?
doing it just for us, are you?
Exactly. Because I mean, not that we don't want to know what you're doing. We love to know what you're doing, but who are you getting? You know, when you see somebody like, oh, you getting dressed up on a Friday night, where you? You know, like, where you going with that outfit? You put on your best outfit. So to me,
like
that
7
shows
Assassin's Creed games announced. Like, why?
Futures, because to me, you're trying to show someone that you have this great future. You have things going on. Things are popping with you. So
we're going all in on that thing that makes us a lot of money.
Exactly. Which I call you getting sexy for acquisition. You got your Friday night best on. You going to the club tonight. Okay. So that is what the sense I have been getting. You know, they're pretty big. They're pretty spread out, you know, and anyone, I remember we have these conversations, I think me, Soft King, as far as like, whether or not Microsoft should acquire them or something like that. And I've actually been firm on no. I've actually been like, and Lord Acquisition, you heard this, y'all? Said no. I didn't think they were a good fit. I just felt that a lot of their stuff was on the decline. And now it seems worse. What surprised me though, Mario Rabbids.
I know.
I wanted that selfishly to be something that popped off, and hit the bigger, actually even bigger than that is what you said. Just Dance is huge for them. I don't even care about Just Dance. I don't like it. I remember going to one of the, I'm going to say 2018's E3. In 2018 or 2019, I think 2018. Mm-hmm. And I got invited to Ubisoft's conference. Bro, you should have seen the production value they had for Just Dance. I'm like, why is this game? Then I saw the numbers, and I'm like, yo, it's doing that well for them. So for Just Dance, their mainstay, one of their core pillars, to now underperform, yeah, this is something. And like the last point you said perfectly, this is sometimes, we talked about with Bethesda, the size when we saw ZeniMax declining, right? And they started to jump out the box. Sometimes they try to do the safe thing. Oh,
here's Elder Scrolls 6. Here's Starfield. Here's 76. Yep. Good point.
Here's Wolfenstein. Co-op. Everybody likes co-op. Give them a co-op. Wolfenstein now is co-op. And you see what I'm saying? Like, you start to panic. You don't want to take risks. Everybody and their mother wants Splinter Cell. You ain't giving us no Splinter Cell. Right? You're giving us divisions. You give it. So I start to worry. Look, I'm not going to front. I'm a little concerned. I'm curious what's going to happen with them long term. But yeah, something to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Heartbreaker again, you mentioned it, sparks of hope. I don't like to read into YouTube numbers being indicative of a game's interest. Like when I post a video like, oh, that must not be a game people are interested in, because certainly that's not the case. But I remember typically on Retro Rebound, like when we drop a day one review, we're very picky with them. But I think I'd say we have like a high success rate where like when we drop one, like it pops off. Like our One Piece Odyssey review is doing insanely well right now. So for example, like we have a pretty good feel of what works. And I think Mario and Rabbids like came out the gate really slow. And then around its launch date, instead of the embargo timing, is when it picked up to about like 37K, something like that in that range. But there was no talk of that game at all. Very few reviews were dropping on it. Very few tweets about it. It was strange. And I kind of read into it like, this doesn't seem to have the same buzz as the first Mario and Rabbids did, which sucks because if Ubisoft has done anything right over the last couple of years, it was that series. Mario and Rabbids, you can slander Ubisoft all day. Certainly I do. That is a legit good series and it deserves your money. Like they are creative with it. It's not formulaic. It's not bloated. It's everything you want. It's funny. It's thoughtful. The combat and progression is great. It's wonderful. I highly recommend people check out this series, but that's what we want more of. And it's just a shame that as they're looking to do that with this sequel that I never thought would exist because I didn't know how the first one did, with Assassin's Creed Mirage, like how risky are they going to get now when they're in hot water? So I'm really curious to see how it all ends up, but not looking good for them right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last little bit of news here. We'll talk about what games we're playing afterwards and then some warm-up questions. Xbox has teamed up with my good friends at Oreo. Now, if you don't know anything about Matty, Oreo is Matty's favorite cookie. I
never knew this.
Dude, okay. I am an Oreo aficionado. Like I would actually go out to the store when they were dropping the new flavors, the new limited editions, and I would always pick them up. I'm weird with it, man. Like not as much anymore because health is wealth. Yeah, those are a weakness of mine. But like, bro, I was out there trying every single Oreo that you could think of, man. The red velvet cake, the birthday cake, man. I got my friends on it.
Cake with hold stop time.
Yeah.
Red velvet.
Red velvet. Yeah. Oh, dude, and it's delicious.
It's my favorite.
Delicious, man. Oreo is phenomenal, man. Shout out to Nabisco. I think they own Oreo. I'm not sure though.
Shout out to the publisher. I like that.
But look, Xbox has done a phenomenal move here, and they have teamed up with Oreo. So inside packs of specially themed Xbox Oreos are Oreo-themed skin codes for Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, and Sea of Thieves. DarkRod99 writes in, hey, Matty and Cog, Halo and Oreo did a partnership recently, and I got to ask, are these types of promos working for them? I think it's cool to get sometimes to do a promo with a certain brand in order to get more eyes on the game. But with Halo, it seems that this is too frequent. Cookbook, Oreos, and Nerf. What are they trying to accomplish by doing this type of stuff? This is a really good pickup. And I was personally Dark Rod, and not that what you're saying is wrong, because I'm not sure, but the way I was looking at it was really like these games see something in Halo that they're having their brand exposed to a certain player base. I'm always for, though, the first-person shooter cross with food or drink brand, because my favorite is always Mountain Dew and Call of Duty. Getting that soda, bringing it home from launch day, screwing off the top and being like, and I got double XP, baby, right here. It was like a token of good faith for consuming a carbonated sugar drink. But what's your read of it, Cog? Because I personally was thinking of it the other way, that these brands were maybe getting a little more exposure through Halo and Xbox in a partnership. But how do you view it?
I think it's a mutual relationship. I think that they definitely, companies see the analytics and the metrics, and we have to be honest. Health is wealth crew. That gamers, our eating habits are not the greatest.
Are you suggesting we may like soda and cookies a lot?
Oh, dude.
You don't see them just putting Halo Infinite codes on a cap of Nestle water. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It ain't on the healthy products. You know what I'm saying? It's on the stuff that gamers do, because let's be honest, we sit there, we blazing these games for hours. Energy drinks make sense, right? Because you see them with I did the the Halo. I was literally running to every 7-Eleven just so I could get the Rockstar one that had the gold and black Warthog with the skin. I could have the gold and black skin. Halo was locking skins.
Colors. Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah, I had to have the Lord's color. Like so Halo was locking them skins behind them Rockstar joints. I'm like, I need this in my life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I searched the local 7-Elevens until I found. Yes, I was. I was successful. You know what I'm saying? It took about 3 7-Elevens for me to find, but I got.
Wow, you really went out there.
I was driving. I was going. I was up there going. Let me go check. You see the back? Okay, cool. Y'all got them. But so they know what they're doing. There's telemetry. There's analytics. So if you go to where the gamers are, and then like you said, these products must love that cross marketization. They must love what's going on with it, and they're seeing a return on investment on some level. So it makes sense. And yeah, I didn't know he was an Oreo fish. I like Oreo. I love Oreo. I gotta stop. It's bad for me.
I haven't indulged in a while, but the problem is what happens is because they're just so easily accessible. You peel off the top. They're all sleeved up for you. You know what happens is I'll show self-control, right? Like I won't just take the whole thing with me, but it's every time I pop in the kitchen, just one.
Bad,
and then I'm back in. I'm in the vicinity. I'll take another, and it adds up. That's the problem is the picking. And if I grabbed like a handful, I just want another handful later. So that I just stay away now because I just know I'm like, man, I'm gonna get some serious health problems if I keep doing this.
I can't have them in my house anymore. There's certain things, Oreos. You know what's another thing? Is Twizzlers. Like there's certain things. If they're in the house, I'm gonna eat that whole box. Like it's a wrap for me.
Twizzler guy. I hate Twizzlers.
I like that.
I respect it.
Sweets, like it's just that, and cookies especially. Have you ever had, side tangent, have you ever had the opposite of the Oreo, the uh-oh?
The uh-oh?
Oh, you don't know about the uh-oh.
What is that?
It's literally opposite Oreo. I think it's the same company.
What?
So basically, yeah.
Wait, I kind of like the vision. Hold on. Uh-oh.
Yeah, type it up. Uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh is the cookie. It's literally an opposite Oreo. Yeah!
What?
It's good. It's not. I'm never going to say it's better than the Oreo, but it's good. It's good. So I used to rock these for a little bit. So I used to do those, the Oreos, uh-ohs, and then I'm bad with anything Oreo shake or Oreo cookie shake or ice cream. Yeah,
this is definitely a 90s food, isn't it?
It got a little age on it. I mean, you can still. I've seen them, but it's probably harder to find. Or if not, if they went out because. Talk to me.
I forgot an Oreo flavor. I got to put the audience on. Pumpkin spice Oreos are actually fucking a staple of my fall window. They are so good, man. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Well said. Trust me, I got to stay away from that. That's a dangerous chamber for me, man. Hey, so you young, you got the good metabolism, you can burn all that off. Nah, that cog.
My doctor's been on my case when I showed up. He's like, you got to get up. You're being too sedentary. I'm like, motherfucker, come on. Like, what happened to those teenage days where I could just kind of just cool it and have a soda and just not worry about anything?
I feel you, bro. Well, yeah, this marketing makes sense by Xbox. I know it does.
It does. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Cog, let's talk about what games we're playing. Doctors be damned. I'm going to play my video games. And looks like you've been dipping into some familiar territory.
Yes, it's the loves, man. This is what happens to me. And again, we talked about earlier with the Deathloop situation. And the problem number 2 is when Destiny is actually good. And I got to shout out Bungie right now. They're on fire. They took
Jimmy Champagne was telling me the same thing, bro.
Oh, Jimmy's playing. Oh, yeah, I see Jimmy on. Shout out to Jimmy Champagne.
He's like, Destiny's just really good. Like, I can't step away now.
I can't stop. Here's the thing, and full disclosure, there's a big controversy in the Destiny community prior to this, right? 2 reasons. One, the last season was arguably their worst season of the seasonal model, right? Now, a lot of people
just that year.
I would say ever. That it was bad.
Wow. Okay.
Season. Yeah. What was the name of that season? I forgot. It was so bad. I don't even. Season of the Plunder. Okay.
That name just sounds like.
Yeah. The name sound. You know what I'm saying? They had pirate theme, plunder the booty. Stop. But anyway, moving on. So here's the thing. It was bad, and where it really was bad was narratively. Since they've done seasonal content, they've always been strong. And this was the weakest one yet with a weak payoff. So everybody was like, yo, Bungie, what's going on? Plus the game is extremely buggy right now. It was crashing, doing all PvP communities upset. So it was just an all-around bad season. Season of the Seraph comes on. They introduce some very strong characters that we haven't seen in a while and great story cohesion, a fantastic narrative. We're back to our weekly cadence of tune in next week. We're going to see what's going to happen in the show, kind of thing. So basically what they've done, quality of life. There's these great missions now. There's basically what happens is the seasonal content is basically temporarily content that developers make. It only lasts for that season and it goes away. But the problem it's like sometimes there's no matchmaking. Sometimes the loot pool, they make you it's too grindy. They want you to do all these stupid steps. And you're like, bro, I'm not doing all this for that. They completely answered a lot of that with focused grinding and focused pursuits, right? Then they did something that we've always wanted, which is it's called, when a raid comes out, it's called contest mode. So basically, either in Destiny, you're too strong when you just destroy everything, or something is too difficult and the barrier of entry is so high. Now they experimenting with the seasonal content. They're doing this thing where when you, whatever level you are, if you're Maddie's like a 1580 and I'm a 1590, right? The algorithm of the game will put it where the difficulty of the enemies are always 5 ahead of you. So it's a nice balance. The challenge is there. You just can't walk through the content. I got my build, bro, and not gonna work. You're gonna have to work together. You got to play smart. And it's not overly difficult, but just the right spot. So they found that. And then the other thing is the loot pool is tremendous. They're doing some great experimentation. The gunplay still feels amazing as it always is. And the last point I'll say is generally, the season before the big expansion, which is Lightfall, tends to be the weakest. Oh, no.
Nice.
We're seeing some things, bro. Hey, we're on the edge of our seat. We're excited. And Bungie just made some huge announcements today, which is, for you, you're going to really love this.
Let's hear it.
Shout out. I gotta plug my home podcast. Last word. Shout out to Ebontis. Shout out to Ty. Got Travis. One of the major pain points, I always bring you up. I say, Maddie's my case example, is people want to come in that haven't played and they want to know if they could be able to play and function. And Travis talked about his friend who's interested in Destiny, and he just tried to get on like this season. Well, he was talking about the basic pain points of like necessary things that new Destiny players don't have that are like essential mods, builds. And Travis was like, wait a minute, you don't have that? And he was like, no, I started the game. I don't know what that thing you're talking about is. And I'm like, wait, new players don't have all of these things that most veterans have? Like and there's no resource to get them. There's no direct path. So today they made an announcement.
Vault, like them just sealing off content and you just can't get it? Or?
It's a product of, we made something that was exclusive to Season 5. Season 5, no, actually you're correct. It is because of the vault. Season 5 gets vaulted. We have no path. We give it to one vendor now for every season that you miss on a rotational basis. And let's say I'm gonna make them a fictional note. Let's say there's 100 mods. This one vendor will come by with a random mod, only 2 of them a week. So you gotta hope this is the week. For a new player, that doesn't work. So yeah, it's stupid. So they made the announcement today. Effective immediately. All of that mod stuff, all that will be available to all players. There will be no path of pain and entry point.
Bungie, so they do out here at the right time.
LFG, they're gonna act like, now I'm starting to believe. Wait a minute, and then I go for it. I gotta toot my own horn. The last word, we are on them of how awful it is for onboarding new players. And these last couple of steps have been great. So they're on fire right now. Destiny's in a good place. Yeah, I've been rocking that. And then I still been, when I take a little break, doing my stage or 2 a night or Crisis Core, because I love my Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Zach I'm coming around. He's getting a little bit more confident. He, the whole Angeal thing, he's still with the betrayal thing, but I'm starting to see the arc where it's going. And I'm like, okay, I think it's going where it's at is fire. But I go for it. The DM, what you call it? DMW? What is it?
Yes.
The
DMW.
I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to understand especially when you get those boosts, right? That really are positive toward it. Sometimes you get invincible for a minute. You start tearing things up. So yeah, I'm still starting. That is definitely getting finished. And then after I get out of my Desi bag, then I go back into the bag that I'm supposed to be doing. Deathloop, High on Life, and everything else.
Time's a ticking, Cog. You got probably a month till Lightfall. So
I know. I'm gonna do it though. I'm gonna do it though.
You got it though. You got it.
I'm gonna do it. I got it. Believe in me.
I believe in you. I'm your biggest believer, man. For me, I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts 2. So over the winter break, I played Kingdom Hearts 1. Or was it before the winter break? I apologize. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 because my friends are saying it hasn't aged as bad as you think. I don't think I was wrong. I like the game, but I never really liked Kingdom Hearts 1 that much. I appreciate its simplistic nature in the story because it's way before anything got confusing and retconned and all that stuff. But Kingdom Hearts 2, a lot of people don't know, one of my favorite games of all time, like easily. I've always loved the combat. The Haley Joel Osment's voice as Sora in this one is the best. Sora's outfit here is the best. Everything about this game, the data battles, the absent silhouettes, like this game is God tier to me. And I've been so far away from Kingdom Hearts that, as I said with the first one, it's like I kind of forgot if I really even like this series anymore or not. And the first one wasn't super convincing. The second one has been, though. I was like, yep, this is what I love. This is what I love. The connections to Final Fantasy are so strong in this one. It was actually really rewarding because, funny enough, the ones that I've been playing are the ones that have been appearing here. Like I got a lot of Final Fantasy 10-2 references. Cypher from 6 was in Kingdom Hearts 2. I had no idea about that. I remembered Vivi was in Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm like, oh my God, Final Fantasy 9 is my favorite. Like, this is so cool. Leon from 8, Yuffie from 7, Sid from 7. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what, now I get it. I was like, this has been missing, man. Like, this is what makes this series so special. So it's been wonderful going back. I'm about 21 hours in now. I'm headed towards the world that never was. And I have been thoroughly enjoying it. It's my first time playing on proud difficulty. So there's like standard, proud, and then critical. I'm not ready for critical. I'm not ready for that smoke. This is my first time playing on any difficulty above normal. And I did this because a lot of my friends were telling me, God, try on a higher difficulty, bro. You'll appreciate Kingdom Hearts mechanics more for it. I'll bend the knee. They were correct. There is some tech in this game. It is not the most technically deep, I should say, action RPG, but there is a satisfaction when you time your parry, when you learn the boss mechanics because you have to, not because you can mash your way through it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll bend the knee here. This is a little deeper than I thought. So I've been loving it even more than I always had. And this game's fantastic. So it's been great going back to that. Now on the new wave, new stuff coming out.
What's the new wave?
This week we see the release of One Piece Odyssey.
Oh man.
Yeah. So been on the One Piece grind this last year. I'm about 130-ish episodes in. I just finished Alabasta, for those who want to date me here. And I love One Piece. Like I'm very late to the party, but like what I've watched, I sat there, I was like, I get it. Like I know it's a long-term investment, but God damn it, I did all of Trails. Like I can do One Piece, and I know I can. So Bandai was kind enough to provide me a review code ahead of launch on the Xbox. Listen to that, everybody, on the Xbox. And so fired it up. This is by the team that did Dragon Quest 11, by the way. And you can feel that. This game is great. The only problem I have with it is it dives into the arcs of the show, the manga, and it does it through this Memoria system. So you're going through the memories of these characters, and they'll scatter things up and kind of change how things typically happen compared to what actually occurs in the manga or in the anime. But because I'm not there, all of it's a spoiler, right? So the first place you go to is Alabasta. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm exploring it. I'm interacting with characters, doing quests here. Like I'm fighting crocodile. Like this is amazing. But then you get out of there. I'm like, they're like, next is, I forgot which one it was. Not Dressrosa. It was like, not Marineford. It was another one I'm forgetting. But it was an arc I haven't got to. I'm just like, man, they spoiled the life out of Alabasta. And you're telling me that if that energy is held up, I'm just going to ruin the whole show for myself. Do I want to, though, in this bite-sized manner? I don't. So that's the only problem I do have with the game. But otherwise, as a video game, it introduces a new mechanic. And the combat, all right, get ready for this, reminds me, it reminds me in a weird way of Like a Dragon. You remember what I said, though? Like a Dragon felt like an action game slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I hope Like a Dragon kind of turns into, because it's in a 3D space, but it feels like a turn-based game. So what happens in One Piece Odyssey is like when combat starts, you're in what are called areas. So you might have like Luffy and Zoro fighting a group of bronze bats, and then you'll have, I guess, Nami and Robin fighting a group of crocodiles. And what you can do is use your skills, and some have short range, some have long range, to either swap groups and like go take Zoro and bring him over to Nami and Robin, or you can have like close range ones that fight the group of enemies in front of you. So every battle feels a little different because you're scattered in different groups, and you've got to, figure out like what range do I want to use? Do I want to peel off and let this person fight on their own? Sometimes it's like 3-on-3, sometimes it's like 1-on-2, and it kind of changes up the party dynamic as much as you want. Now, what's great is they let you change party members whenever without spending a turn, I should say. So what this means is that like if you see an enemy and you're like, oh, well, Chopper's dead here, but if I swap out to like Usopp, I'll be good to go. You can do that without spending a turn. And it's because like this game almost has a triangle weakness system. You have power, technique, and speed. And so like I think technique is stronger than speed, and speed can like outwit power, something along those lines. I don't remember it exactly. Think of, for those who have played Fire Emblem, that the triangle system with the sword, axe, and spear. It's kind of similar to that, except it's power, technique, and speed. And so you're able to have all these party members that benefit in different ways from that power structure. And there's little wrinkles in it. Like when you run around as Zoro, like one of the jokes is he's bad at navigation, and so he doesn't have a map in the overworld. Or if you're playing as Luffy, like he can't be paralyzed because he's made of rubber. It's little things like that that I think give this game even more personality. But like as an RPG, like it actually introduced a new mechanic. Like we haven't seen this before, this kind of area-based combat system. They do things called dramatic scenes. So certain battles will, again, have different flavors to them, where like Usopp will get ambushed specifically, and the dramatic scene will be like, eliminate all the enemies before they knock out Usopp. And if you do so, you'll get double XP. And so there's like a new goal for that specific fight. And I love that. Like or like defeat the boss, defeat the Thunder Colossus with Luffy. It's like, okay, like, how can I do that? And so because this game does that, it's a strong RPG. Like it's really fun to play. It's easy, at least in the early going. Enemies get tougher as you go deeper in the game, but right now it's a little easier. But it is way better than I think it had any right to be, because the standard for anime games is so low, as I'm sure people already know. Like it's all been 3D fighters, and even if they're like high quality ones from CyberConnect with like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which was like an action RPG, or more recently from them was Demon Slayer, you get these high quality visual experiences, but in the terms of like interacting, depth, a true, I would say, unique video game experience, they're very rare. And so One Piece Odyssey is in that rare bunch now. And I hope that it does well, and that it sets a standard where people can say like, yeah, why don't we, sticking with Demon Slayer, like, why don't we make a Demon Slayer RPG? I would personally lose my mind over that. Like, I don't mind that they made a 3D fighter, but that's so safe nowadays. Like there's so many 3D anime fighters, One Piece has it. My Hero has it. One Punch Man has it. Dragon Ball Z has it. Every anime has the 3D fighter. So to see them do a true turn-based RPG, and it's not just your simple bread and butter, it's like this new set of mechanics. Awesome. So this game's fantastic. I just don't know if I'll continue it because I don't want to ruin the show for myself. So it's tough, man. It's a tough decision, but I love what's there. It's like a surprisingly amazing video game. So shout out to Bandai. They did a great job with this one here.
Yeah, Bandai. My top 5 of all time, man. I used to rock with them for a while.
All right, let's talk with the audience now. Get some warm-up questions in, and then get into this week's big news. Number 1, Sean Kramer writes in, hey, Dukes, with the danger of the next mainline Fallout falling into the 2030s and a Starfield sequel coming God knows when, if Starfield is a banger, I'm curious of a solution not many have mentioned. What are the pros and cons of Bethesda Studios separating the teams to work on multiple titles at once? Would this fly in the face of the way Todd likes to develop games with immense attention to detail? Would Creation Engine experience too much, make it too difficult to grow the team? Curious to hear the Duke's take on this. Thanks, and have a Geno Smith getting a $2 million bonus just for making the playoffs kind of day. This timing is great for this writing, Cog, because I wanted to kick us off here where Sean's idea is good, but here's what I think is going to happen. So
What you think?
I think it was after we did Defining Duke last week, I caught wind of some news for Bethesda Game Studios where if you go to Steam DB, you'll find different branches for different games that developers are working on to add features to their game or whatever. And when you go under Skyrim Special Edition, it was discovered that there is a new branch called Marketplace being worked on. And what it sounds like they're going to be doing is, because Creation Club, for those who don't know, hasn't been supported for years. All they did was take all that was already there in Creation Club, bundle it up, and put it inside Anniversary Edition to pretty much resell to you for what was actually a really good deal at $20, or I think 18 if you were on Xbox. And so what's happening now is you have potentially a marketplace coming to Skyrim that could function a lot like a Minecraft marketplace or a Roblox marketplace, where people will form teams straight up to make video games within Skyrim, which happened before. Like Enderall is an example. Enderall is like a whole-on video game using Bethesda's tech. And the idea that Bethesda's always been big on and Todd's always been vocal about is like, we want to give these people jobs, have them make money. And at first my read was like, okay, well, they're going to hire these people to their team. But I think what's actually going to happen is they're going to make a marketplace for Skyrim. Now, to get to what Sean wrote in about, what I think is going to happen beyond that is I think the solution is implementing this marketplace in Fallout 4 with its weirdly timed next-gen update and subsequently Starfield. I think Starfield's going to have the same thing, because once you finish your official support, they can only divide so much manpower. There are so many demands for Bethesda. They're pretty much locked into a roadmap until the 2030s, right, with Fallout 5, because they said that themselves. What comes after Elder Scrolls 6? Fallout 5. So they're locked in until then. And if Starfield's great, how do you support that? You let a marketplace do it. You let a fan base do it. And a fan base that's known to do a pretty goddamn good job at it, right? So that is my read based off Sean's write-in and news that's been circulating. I'm curious if you think they should do the multiple teams at once, or if you think the marketplace is a solution or something else.
It's a tough one, but because we talked about earlier about one of the strengths of Xbox is kind of allowing one of the strengths to get deals done and for studios to be acquired is kind of allowing that creativity, right? Allowing them to be able to make the things they want, as well as the other things that they're known for. So with Bethesda, I look at them in that situation where we've had, Jez Corden on, Randall Thor. We talked about this, right? Rand would tease you and be like, getting it to 2036. Yeah, Rand was just messy with you. You know what I'm saying? But I look at it, and according to the cadence, right, it would be something crazy, based on where we know that they say Elder Scrolls is next, right? And then after Elder Scrolls, now you're talking Fallout with potential, 5-6 year development cycles, or 4 or 5. So I think it's imperative that, that something happens. I'm now coming around. I am thinking that at the end of the day, corporations want to make money.
Yeah.
And they are still, even though they have creative control, still beholden to Microsoft. We can't say that they're not, right? So to me, it's a matter of respectfully coming into that room and saying, hey, you may not split the teams up, but you may make a dedicated team, you know what I'm saying, or ask for additional resources, or merge with existing talent that's in the room, that has the history, that has the cachet.
Who are you talking about?
No, there was this one gentleman we had on Defining Duke Ultimate that was part of one of the arguably, more popular versions of the Fallout series in Vegas. According to him, he's involved with all things Obsidian. And you've been hearing chirps of Obsidian mention Fallout by name. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Fergus and team lead. So it's like, it's there, right? It's just a matter of making business sense and being respectful enough of Bethesda's personal cadence of what they want to do, because let's be honest, it is still their baby, right?
Yep.
And Todd has to sign off. But as long as Todd is one of the overseers, so to speak, and he has the correct potential oversight, and he's respected at that level, and you guys come to a collaborative middle, I don't see why not. So yeah, I'm starting to come around on this. I do think it just makes way too much sense. And at the end of the day, Microsoft they're still beholden to Microsoft on
That's
some
fair.
level. You could still be nudged kindly.
Kindly. With a bright smile on your face.
Yeah. I think they can. There's too much money to be made with a mainline Fallout game not existing. Yeah.
Number 2 is a really interesting thought exercise. Curious as to what you feel about this one. Brian Wagers writes, "Hey Dukes, right now a lot is happening in the Microsoft sphere. We are close to getting our first major Bethesda game under Microsoft, and the Activision deal may close this year. Which brand will define Microsoft over the next 5 years or so? Bethesda or Activision Blizzard?" And believe it or not, this is a question we've never been asked. Like, what defines them moving forward more? Because right now, like, we'll talk about developer direct, Xbox and Bethesda. But what happens when you have a third family member in the mix? That's too long. Xbox, Bethesda, and Activision. I mean, maybe wrong, but you got to imagine there might be a favorite down the stretch, right? And you want that association nice and close. And who's got the biggest shooter in the world? But you got to think it's Activision, right? As much as my heart wants to say Bethesda, you got to think it's Activision who's way more important right now. I mean, think of how much they spent. Of course it's got to be, right?
Pains me to say it.
Yeah.
Pains me. Great question, Brian. Great question. Like, what will define Microsoft over the next 5 years? And the gamer in me wants to like yell and be like, Bethesda, bro. Like, the gamer in me wants to fight. Like, because that's what I love. Those are the games I love. Western RPGs and just the way they came about changing the games industry on its head in single player games. But it's not about me. It's about the industry. And Activision, as much as I remember when that announcement was made, like, why are they going after them? But if you sit back, you take a look at it, it makes sense. You know, you have arguably the biggest shooter, in the games industry ever in Call of Duty. And then, you have these tremendous IPs. You have Blizzard, we already talked about. You have which marries the PC space and everything that they're doing there and top franchises. And then the elephant in the room, which you always said, was mobile, right? And all the things they want to do creatively there to make themselves a powerhouse in the space. So, Activision deal going through will define them, because if they're able to secure it and finalize it, you're talking about a different Microsoft, almost to the point where, I mean, let's be honest, right? Sony and the FTC and there's people who are concerned that with this acquisition, the playing field will shift, so to speak. So, it's without question. You spend this amount of money, it's without question.
Absolutely. All right. What we have next on the list here is a question from Brandon Conley. Hey, Dukes. Benji Sales over on Twitter has reported that Hogwarts Legacy is in the number 4 top selling game on Steam currently, with 5 weeks remaining before release. What is the Dukes barometer on HogLeg? Any excitement for the release, or is it a pass for the Dukes? After Starfield, it is my next most anticipated launch of 2023, and I just feel it's not getting any love from the gaming media at large. Have a great day, fellows. Brandon, thank you so much for writing in. I've turned a corner on this game, right? Like, I wasn't a big Harry Potter fan, but I've been watching the movies more. I've been looking at this game more, and I'm actually excited. I'm like, this looks really, really good. Like, PlayStation again, really wise to ally themselves with this one, man. Very smart, but this looks great, and I have plenty of thoughts, but I'm curious where you are with HogLeg.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty short and sweet for me. I mean, again, like you said with PlayStation, finger on the pulse. They bet on this one. I remember when they showed that reveal, and I'm with you, bro. I am not a Harry Potter dude like that. I think I was forced to watch one because I was like a friend of mine was like such a fan of it. So come on, you gotta watch it. I'm like, all right. And I get the basics of it, kind of thing. But I'm not gonna front. Looking at that gameplay reveal, they did themselves a ton of credit. And it really felt like I was in that universe and just going to the wizard school and the different houses and House Slytherin and all this other stuff going on. Yeah, it looks fun. It translated well into to be gamified, so to speak. And to me, what I like is they're paying it the proper fan service. And graphically, it's a looker. It's a looker, and it's just really deep. You got the whole, third person narrative kind of vibe, but it's just so much you can do. It looked like one of those games you can get lost in. And I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I think the fact that the Steam numbers are showing what it's showing already, the hype levels are through the roof. Sony was smart to get themselves. You almost feel like it's a Sony exclusive in a way, right? Even though it's coming to Xbox platforms. I know they have some exclusive content, but Sony is marketing. I don't know if you saw the CES recently with Jim Ryan, and they had they talked about plans, what to look for to 2013. Spider-Man, forgot what the second game was. It was Hogwarts Legacy on that screen. They were treating it as if that's their own exclusive.
That marketing
deal, and I'm like, that marketing deal, it goes a long way. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised at the amount it's dominating the Steam chart.
Yeah,
that's surprised. I'm like, wow, people really want this, and it shows you the IP power of Harry Potter. Like,
oh god,
people are behind this. Yeah,
man. I mean, I think some of it's also, pardon me, I think some of it's fueled by this attempt to kind of silence the game. These reviewers that are like, I might have to rant for a moment here. I apologize.
Well, I'm here for it. Go for it.
There's a staggering amount of outlets who are just like really trying to white knight the idea of like, oh, we're not going to review this game. And I'm just like, we could create this endless list of racist, homophobic, horrible people who have been tied to things we love. And I feel like now's the perfect time to champion something like Hogwarts Legacy, which supports all the right things that society's looking for. It's separate from J.K. Rowling. She's not involved. Whatever you feel about her, I don't care. But we're so stuck on beating our chest that we're just ignoring a game trying to do the right thing and bury it. And not only that, but bury people who maybe don't share any of Rowling's beliefs or any of those types of beliefs at all. Just trying to work in the Harry Potter universe and maybe redefine in some ways in what is going to be a dominant mainstream success blows my mind. And if you want to be like, I think Kotaku said they're going to, I know a couple outlets as well said they weren't going to. If you really want to like self-sabotage that bad and ignore what is going to be a dominant game, like numbers wise, you want to ignore that, be my guest. But beyond that, if you want to really bury your head in the sand and pretend that these aren't people who are separate from the creative, who are working hard, who are normal people with their own set of beliefs, if you want to act like that's the case, then skedaddle. The industry doesn't need you because you are lacking the ability to think critically and are leaning so hard into reactions. That's what social media has taught us, right? React, right? And that's all we're constantly getting. And I know the question was about what are we feeling about Hogwarts Legacy? I'm very excited. But, this knee-jerk level reaction that this game is receiving, 1 million+ member boycott. Come on, man. Come on. Like, this series isn't going to stop. No series is going to stop. I think of like, for example, and this may be a bit of a stretch, but hear me out. I think of like Bloodborne, for example. Bloodborne's one of probably my favorite Soulsborne style game. There is some Lovecraftian level inspiration in that game. Big time. Look up Lovecraft's cat and his name, okay? And it's a pretty messed up one. I'll just say that. But my point being is, are we going to go to the length of being like, well, From Software, they made a Lovecraft? No, man. Like, I know, again, it's a reach compared to working within the IP. But the point being is there are nasty tendrils everywhere in the creative space, and you're going to trip over one of them eventually. And I'm not saying don't get caught up in it. Don't follow your beliefs. But you got to, in my opinion, be able to separate. It goes back to the Activision deal. I remember one thing Dustin and I were asked a lot on Ham Radio Podcast was like, should we support Activision games? And I'm always for like, if you do what you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'll give you my thoughts on it, but I'm not here to tell you what to do. But like cutting off at the knees a bunch of hardworking devs and people who had nothing to do with the mess going on with Activision execs, I don't know if that ever, is going to send the right message. I don't think it will be able to do it in mass enough to actually have that impact. Money talks, so I get the intent, and I respect people's positive intent in standing up for individual groups that oftentimes are voiceless. But I feel like eventually we lose the plot and we're trying to sabotage the wrong things. And so that's where I stand on it, man. Like, I'm excited for this game, and a lot of people feel shame for being excited for it. Like my friend, my fiance, huge Harry Potter fans, and they're like, they think Rowling sucks, and that's their own thoughts, but they're just like, hesitant to say that they're excited about it because they're afraid of how people are going to view them. And I'm like, it's a video game by a whole number of different creatives that have nothing to do with her. So, that's where I stand on it. It's like, I'm glad it's the number 4 top selling game, not to stick it to anyone, but because it's a good looking game and it looks like people tried with it and are giving Harry Potter fans who love the series and love what's within it something that they can really celebrate and enjoy. To me, that's a win.
Yeah, no, well said. Well said. I resonate with a lot of things you said. And I think that, one thing that we're seeing in the industry when you talk about the Harry Potter situation, and I would look at, like, even though it's not apples to apples, I look at what happened with High on Life and how reviewers ingested that, right? And they didn't say they were going to cancel the game, but they definitely said, this is not for me. This is just, not good. It's, I can't play this with my kids. And we saw the game community come out and show through the sales and the support that it was kind of almost like a same thing with this, and it's almost like an opposite cancel culture kind of effect, right? Where it's like, we don't care what you think as the masses. We love this. We think it looks great. We think we're having enjoyment with it, and we want to play this and we want to support this game. So I think that's what's happening here. And we got to be careful, like you said, because look, you said it perfectly. It's a personal decision. If you don't feel comfortable supporting a game for who's behind it or their belief system or whatever, you have the right to. I think that where we have to be careful is that when we play the moral high ground game, right? There's going to be a period, and I think me and Collins had this discussion, where you cannot avoid it. It's going to creep into something. It's going to creep into something that company, studio, or something that you love. And you're going to have to make another decision there. And then it gets to the point that you can't escape it. There will be something, right? So are you good? Hey, salute to the people who they can completely separate themselves. I am done with gaming. I am done. Hey, more power to you. But that's a personal choice. And I don't think it's right to pretty much blame the entire creatives involved for the actions of one. I don't feel that's particularly fair. That's just my personal belief system. You know what I mean? Now, there are times where I'm like, hey, this is egregious. I'm not feeling money-hungry practice. This time, Cog says, yo, I'm not supporting that.
Yeah.
And everyone has the right to. But also, everyone has the other right to say, and for us not to bully that person into joining our cancel cause. That's each individual choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I'm running, well, Matty's less of a person if he doesn't champion it, he doesn't boycott it like I'm boycotting it. No, that's Matty's choice. You know what I mean? And I can't get mad at it. It's a personal decision, man.
Absolutely. Really well said there. So, yeah, we'll be talking about Hogwarts Legacy as the launch comes up and anything relevant with it. But I felt it was timely to just really go in on where the media is at with it. And by the way, I think these sites that are choosing to not cover it, if their producers are worth the money they're being paid, they're probably going to walk in and be like, what are we doing? Why are we not covering this game? Because this game is going to dominate traffic in February. It's going to dominate traffic in February. And again, I'm not saying it because that you throw away your morals and your beliefs strictly for the money. But what I'm saying is, Cog, you talked about obligations. Your obligation is to drive traffic to the site, and ignoring one of the biggest launches of the year probably isn't going to go well. I don't know. That's just my read of it beyond anything else. And I feel like there are going to be some retractions eventually.
So selective retractions once the SEO and the zeitgeist starts to kick off.
I just feel like you expose yourself to so much whataboutism. Like, once you draw that line, then you're immediately open for the second you contradict yourself, which will happen for someone to be like, well, why did you do this but not this? What about that?
Valid.
Live, bro. It's just such a mistake that everyone keeps digging themselves into. I don't know, man. Sometimes you don't even got to vocalize it. Just be like, quietly, I'm not going to support it. That's it.
I agree. People gonna have to. That's the bed they made. We got to see how that plate works out for them.
Indeed.
Salute to them for standing on their square, but that's them.
Yeah, that's them.
I'll be playing it.
Same here. Let's get into the news, Cog. Number one. Following a relatively lifeless 2022 for Xbox, the icing on the cake was when they had nothing to show at the Game Awards to cap off the year. Holy crap! My honey garlic salad keeps coming up on me here.
Oh no!
I'm all good now. All good now. All right. Okay. It was then and there that Xbox promised we won't have to wait long to hear what's next for them, and now we have the details. Following a report by Dad of Xbox, Jez Corden, Xbox has now confirmed a showcase for January 25th at 12 p.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, called Developer Direct. Xbox describes it on their official Wire post as a, quote, inside look at some of the games coming to Xbox, PC, and Game Pass, end quote, that will focus on, quote, big features, extended gameplay showcases, and the latest info of Xbox games launching in the next few months, end quote. The games that will be shown at the first ever Developer Direct are Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, and Elder Scrolls Online. Here are Xbox's own words on what to expect. For Elder Scrolls Online, studio director Matt Firer will unveil 2023's major chapter update, including the latest regions of Tamriel to become playable in ESO, as well as a major new feature coming in the game's biggest update this year. The Developer Direct will be immediately followed by a full standalone ESO chapter reveal event, hosted by ZeniMax Online Studios, which will provide all the in-depth details of ESO players that will be keen to know. Next is Forza Motorsport. The team at Turn 10 Studios has been hard at work, bringing fans the next generation of Forza Motorsport built from the ground up to take advantage of the Xbox Series X and S. Forza Motorsport is back, and we can't wait to share more gameplay and exciting new details. Up next, Minecraft Legends. Mojang Studios will showcase an insider's look into the PvP multiplayer experience in Minecraft Legends, the upcoming action strategy game from the makers of Minecraft. Developed in partnership with Blackbird Interactive and launching this spring, don't miss exclusive gameplay footage at the Developer Direct. Lastly, Redfall. The minds behind Dishonored and Prey, Arkane Austin, will showcase several minutes of their upcoming FPS. The Developer Direct will reveal single and multiplayer gameplay, showing more of how you and your friends will take down bloodthirsty vampires on the picturesque island of Redfall, Massachusetts. Fans can expect to learn more about the combat, customization, bosses, the open world, and more. These shows will be hosted by the developers as we are walked through extended gameplay showings for their respective titles. What this likely means is that there will be little time for back and forth chumming that can eat up the showcase time. For those wondering where Starfield, Bethesda Game Studios' highly anticipated AAA exclusive RPG, lies in this showcase, well, it's not here. Xbox communicated in this very same Wire post that Starfield will be sitting this one out. Instead, Starfield will be receiving a standalone show to dedicate the proper amount of time for a deep dive. When that will be is still unconfirmed as of this moment in time. All right, Cog. Lot to go over here. Lot to go over here. Let's start off with a writing here from Ryan Griffith, and we'll dive in. Distinguished Dukes. With the announcement of the supposed Developer Direct later this month, I couldn't help but experience some trebuchet-induced PTSD. While I'm in favor of Starfield getting its own presentation due to how massive Bethesda RPGs are, I'm not sure about a presentation focused on Forza, Redfall, and Minecraft Legends. I'm not saying these three games aren't worthy of showing, but I'm worried the presentation style will lead to a short trebuchet-like show with devs being interviewed by influencers talking over the game. That sounds like another nightmare personally. Really, all I want to see is extended looks at gameplay, show us missions, gameplay loops, how gameplay systems work, etc. And the works of Lord Duke Cog. I say all that to say this, show, don't tell. Are my fears misplaced? Are the Dukes expecting any other games to be there? Love what you both do and have a hearing Matty give DBZ Kakarot single player the roses it deserves put a smile on my face kind of day. All right, Cog, so this first ever Developer Direct coming again January 25th at 12 p.m. Pacific Time Eastern. 12 p.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time will feature Elder Scrolls Online, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, Redfall. Take it away, sir. What should we expect and how are you feeling?
Wow! Shout out to the dad of Xbox, Jez Corden, man.
He was feeling himself. I don't know if you saw the follow up, but he said, as usual, our editor Jez Corden was right on the money in regards to this information. I was like, okay, I love it, Jez. I love the energy.
Salute to my man, because he's hard on himself, but like
He is.
He popped his collar right on this one. He got it right. He threw himself out there, and absolutely, even down to the name, right? Even down to the name. So look, let's get to it. Like this was the what, right? This was the anticipation. The tension is palpable. The anticipation is high. We came off the Game Awards. We don't need to regurgitate what happened there, but it was, when are you going to show a showcase? Aaron Greenberg puts the tweet out, and here we are. So I look at this, and the first reaction was like, okay, good. Got a date. And then I was looking, I'm like, okay, did notice one game missing. So I'm like, okay. Now, my thought process, this is prior to the official Xbox Wire saying what they said today as of recording. At the time, I had conversations with the homies, and I said, listen.
The roundtable began.
That's cool. If they're going to give Starfield its own thing, you better communicate that. It better not be a situation where I show up the day of the showcase expecting Starfield, right? And it's not there, and then you say, oh, it's going to come later, or you don't even say anything. Then the pitchforks would have came out. I want to give them credit. They read the room correctly here, because they were. Thank you. They were going to get it if they didn't do that. And this is, to me, some self-awareness and improvement. So let me give them credit, because if they would have came out here and said, Developer Direct, see you guys on the 25th, and we all come in there expecting the main event and God Howard, and they ain't no Starfield, bro, you going to get it.
Yep.
So salute to them. Now back to what is going to be shown. Elder Scrolls Online surprised me a little bit. I didn't see that one coming. So I'm like, okay. I'm a little excited. I know some people are like, yo, it's Elder Scrolls Online. Look, that's a big game.
It is.
We're not going to minimize how well it's done, how they've turned the corner, the improvements. You've even told me all the different aspects of Tamriel. It's excellent, right? And it's one of those games I'm scared of, because I don't want to stop playing Destiny. And that's a game I would live in, because I like Elder Scrolls.
It's one of those dangerous MMOs in my eyes, for sure.
It's dangerous. I recognize it. I played it. Hours went by. It was fun. And I played it in the beginning stages when they aren't as improved as they are now. I heard it. They got Cog. The last time I checked on them was right around Xbox One, 60 frames, HDR. I'm like, whoa, this looks nice. And I was like, damn, Bethesda, I can't cheat on this. Is too much. So I had to stop. But I was like, you're looking hot over there, but I got to stop. Stop cheating. So anyway, back on focus. New chapter reveal. That's huge, right? And I will say this. I mean, we do know that certain subdivision has an IP they've been working on in the MMO space.
Yeah, 200 people staffed up, 4 years of development. That was my prediction. I was like, they're going to come out and show that. I don't know if there are any. That's what we're going to learn here, right? Will they tuck a surprise in or not?
Will that be later, or will they tuck it out? Maybe this is just the Elder Scrolls focus, and let me maybe keep my expectation. That's the wrong word. Not keep my expectations low, but in being realistic with the time allotted. Maybe this is not the time for that. But hey, don't let me stop you if you want to talk about it. You know, so that's number one. Forza, let's go. What's going on with it? We saw it last at the Bethesda showcase, the summer showcase. It looked phenomenal. Let's get more detail. Gameplay, please. Right? Less personalities, more gameplay. And hey, if you happen to have a release date, that'd be nice. So that's that. Minecraft Legends. Again, a lot of hardcore gamers, they may not want to hear it. Minecraft is massive, bro.
Indeed.
More massive than you may think. Let's just say that. And this is going to be a huge release for them. This is part of the calendar. So let's see what's going on with that. Gameplay, release. And then, of course, my beloved Redfall. Which I'm coming around on, but I can't wait to talk to Matty, see how he feels about certain things that were released. We will talk about that soon.
Yes, we will.
Look, you got to get into it, man, because like you said before, I think we said it on ILP, is that you can't have these side pocket developer things where it's not really Xbox focused and it's not really Xbox. People need to know on their stages, on their programming, right? What the game is about and a true explanation. No disrespect to Game Informer and everybody who's getting these little scoops and all that. That's cool. But on the Xbox stage, when you go for Xbox information, they need to be one of the pioneers to champion information and gameplay. So this is going to be good. I want to see how the more about the multiplayer, what's going on there, any other little systems maybe that we're not, aware of. And obviously they've been very keen on talking about what type of game it is and isn't. We'll get into that. But yeah, that's it. I mean, look, I'm excited. Let's see if they sneak another, maybe a little IP. If not, even if they don't, and it's just that, show well, less person. I'm with our guy. Was it Ryan? Less personalities. I think you kind of got to give release dates, bro. We're at this point now. You kind of have to, at the end of the screen, at minimum, maybe the month, June, Forza, what you call Redfall, May. It's time, right? Let's get people. The problem with them, and it's the last before I pass it to you, go for it, is that they're in a tough spot because I still see mixed reaction. Some people are like, yes, whatever, and other people are like, I don't know, like, and they still giving them the smoke. This is the problem that you will set yourself up for what you did with the Game Awards the year that you had. You're not allowed any leeway. You're not allowed any benefit of the doubt. People are going to come at you, rightfully so. So it's up to them to execute. I do think this is a positive move, though. I love the way they set proper expectation. Let's execute and do the other things. And let's see. So, floor is yours. I'm dying to hear what you
Dude, well said. Yeah, I mean, it depends how you look at it. For me, like on the front of this show, I would say content-wise, it's kind of lacking in the terms of excitement. Like, I don't think what's here is really exciting. What I think is exciting, rather, is what we have before us is this developer direct, a confirmed one for Starfield, and then I think it's safe to assume an Xbox showcase in June. That's kind of unprecedented for them, that we're going to hear from them 3 separate times in major ways ahead of the first half of the year. That's really good. That's an improvement.
Rare. Super rare. They never do it. You get the one show for the year and that's it.
Exactly. Number 2, we've been confirmed the format is fluid. We now have a multi-game showing, but then the next showing is going to be one with just one game. Very state of play in essence, right? One state of play was all Horizon. The other was like, here's Tekken, here's this game, here's that game, right? So I love that they are not making it rigid. It has to be this. I love that they're just letting it be what it needs to be and just serving as a platform to announce things. Because then you can, I hope to God, get rid of the Twitch gaming partnership, let ID at Xbox have the show for like a month. My prediction is, based off the cadence they've established, we're going to hear more from Xbox through this than any other platform. Like, we're going to hear more than this compared to a standard Nintendo Direct. We're going to hear more from this compared to State of Play, just because, number one, Xbox has so much going on, right? That's not even accounting for, number 2, if they get Activision. But 3, you got to think of Game Pass deals. You got to think of third-party partnerships. You got to think about ID at Xbox. You got to think about first-party. They are filling up that pipeline, man. They needed this platform. So to me, a lot of my excitement really comes from the format, the structuring, and knowing we have a thing that we're going to hear from them on a more regular basis. Communication for Xbox mostly sucked pretty bad for a long time. And now we're seeing a good change here. We're seeing a positive change that I think should be just at face value applauded before we see the execution of it all. I think it should be applauded that we know there will be 3 major points, more than likely, barring some tragedy happening where no summer showcase occurs, which I just can't envision for them this year. But we have a pretty much locked in, guaranteed 3 times in the first half of the year to get an idea of what's coming our way. We've never even got a game in the first half of the year. Now we have so much going on. We're getting 2 showcases on top of a 3rd summer one. That's so exciting to me. What I'll say, though, is when it comes to what's there, I'm with you on Elder Scrolls Online kind of being the surprise factor. The expectation is that that the developer direct, as of the time of recording this, we have yet to receive official confirmation, but I think it's pretty much there in official confirmation, is that this should be about 45 minutes long. The reason I say should be is, as I read for the Elder Scrolls Online section, they have the full chapter reveal event immediately after. So there was actually a Elder Scrolls Online social post that had a picture, and it showed when the developer direct is and when the full chapter reveal event is. And the full chapter reveal event began 45 minutes after the developer direct. So presumably it's literally going to go from 12 p.m. Pacific time to 12:45 p.m. Pacific time. And that's a lot when you think about it, because here's the thing I'm concerned about. I think there might be a good amount of talking here, because you'll notice a couple things. Let's read the fine print. Elder Scrolls Online seems to have the most to show, really. Mm-hmm. About major chapter update, latest regions, a new feature, standalone chapter reveal event. So they're going to tease whatever's there. Okay. Turn 10 with Forza, they mentioned just gameplay. What's interesting is, to me, that stands out the most is the one that should be the home run. Redfall. Mm-hmm. Their words are several minutes of gameplay. So what I anticipate is a pretty filled up showcase of ESO, Forza, and Minecraft Legends. And as much as I love the platform, that is not what I'm excited for. Redfall is the only one in there that I'm truly excited for. When I really look at it, if you're talking, like, I'm interested in all these games, but I'm truly excited for Redfall to see what that is. And of course, because it's like the start of a new generation for them. Mm-hmm. So I do see a potential first state of play energy here, where they come out, it's a new squad on the court. They try, and people are like, no, but they got I think they got Starfield coming in, and Todd's a presentation god, bro. Like, this guy, his presentation charisma is 10 out of 10. So they kind of got the ace up their sleeve, where I think they're a little safe. If this doesn't really land and mesh with people, they've got what I think is like a surefire win coming right after. My concluding thought before I pass it back to you, this is an L of a showcase if we don't get release dates for every one of these games. No excuses. No excuses. No excuses. We need dates.
What about May? Redfall May. What if they do that at the end? I'm curious.
That's soon enough, man. If you don't know by now,
say what?
If they just say May, okay, I'll shrug my shoulders. We're getting something. But if we get no dates, bad news. Because remember, I'm carrying the energy. We stay consistent here on Defining Duke. I'm carrying that energy on what I said, which was, if 2023 is just a lapped 2022, it's an L for me. Like, if the content's great, that's one thing. That's fine. I'm excited about that. But separating myself from that, it's an L on delivery. So these games gotta be ready. They gotta be ready. Now, I think we should talk a bit about Starfield in that same breath, right?
Yeah, I think we should do.
Okay, because we got to write in here from Sean Mason. We can maybe add some perspective to this. Greetings, Dukes. On the latest episode of the Iron Lords podcast, the Lords debated on what could be worse for Xbox, releasing Starfield the same month as Redfall or the same day as Zelda. I'm curious to hear what Matty's thoughts are on, as Cog already dove into this. But given the recent rumor of an upcoming Xbox showcase, feel free to chime in too, Cog. Best, Sean Mason.
Should I give context?
Yeah, if there's any added context, please inform me.
Yeah, it was pretty much, we were talking about, this is right before the announcement. We're speculating, and we're talking about what we want from the game showcase and how to handle the release cadence, right, of these games in 2023. So the big debate came up, and I added a little spice to the pot, I'll admit. I was like, hey, not just the internal games. You also have to think about competitors, right? And we know Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is outside.
Yes, sir.
That is a huge game. And the idea was, where do you position, right? And it just so happens that, let's say that the rumors as they stand right now, Redfall May, right? We don't know where Forza is. That's the wild card, which hopefully we'll know at this showcase. We definitely need to know.
Predicting April.
Okay, right? So let's just say go with the max. So let's just what you said. April, Forza, May, Redfall. Now here comes June, right? Now, You think Starfield should go into that month, but then I just said, hey, Diablo 4, a partner, June 6th. All right. And then obviously we know Zelda, what was it, May? The date was given, was it May? I forget what the date for Zelda is.
I think May 12th, I want to say.
Yeah, something that sounds about right. But anyway, professional podcasting. But anyway, so professional podcasting. So what I just said is, where do you place it? Okay, good. Where do you place it, right? And let's just say if it happened to come May, King's argument was like, yo, I don't care what Zelda's doing. Game Pass. He's like, bro. He's like, that's 30 million off top, different market, not point to sale. And I'm just like, Horizon Zero Dawn has entered the room. Yeah. They've entered the chat. And they like to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Based on disrespecting when Big Link come outside. Big Link come outside. People scatter. Yes. You can talk all this. Link move different. So that's all it is. That was the context. Now, to you, that as well as just in general about this Starfield situation.
What's going on, everybody? Real quick, before we get into this segment talking about Starfield, I just want to do a small pickup here because it's pretty important. So for those who don't know, we have a little bit of information here on Starfield. We're going to actually be talking about a potential bump out of the first half of 2023. Now, the reason we're doing the pickup here is because I was listening back to the episode and me being the professional moron I am, misspoke not once, but twice. And now in the spirit of correctness, and of course, just knowing how the internet is, the Dukes get clipped for everything from right to wrong. I wanted to make sure that in the era of clips that we have the correct information here. And the reason, more importantly, I wanted to put it up front is in the spirit of transparency, but also if you hear any abrupt changes of me suddenly saying first half or the audio sounds briefly different, it's because what was occurring was I was mentioning Starfield being bumped out of the second half as a mistake. That is not the case at all. And when I heard it back, I'm like, oh boy, that would be a pretty significant thing to get wrong here. And if other websites were to pick it up, it would be terrible. So the correct information here is that what I have been told is Starfield is possibly being pushed out of the first half of 2023. It's not getting, from what I've been told, a significant delay. I don't know if it's months, weeks, whatever, but they're still shooting for the summer. But this is just to make sure that the record is straight and the rest of the podcast will be corrected, so you won't hear any mistakes. But again, I just wanted to be upfront in case you hear any audio twists, anything sounds different, because I know LSM has good ears. So now the rest of the show will play, but I just wanted to do this in, again, the spirit of correctness and transparency. And now enjoy Cog and I's discussion on what's happening with Starfield. Okay, so what else? I'm debating how much I need to say here. Just
exclusive. Mr. Matty plays exclusive. Let's go. We got it. Feel free to break. You give me that friendly Eddie.
It's more like, you know what the problem is? I would happily stick my neck out, right? And give the info. And I think I'm going to. But it's just you don't want to incite the masses.
Mr. Matty plays. Let's get the types up right now.
Yeah. So you said, let's see here. So the question is releasing Starfield the same month as Redfall, which is presumably May, or the same day as Zelda, which is also May. So what I'm understanding is when it comes to Starfield, that right now it's undated internally. And what that typically indicates is, they're not sure about this first half window. So
mismanagement energy?
No, I don't think so. I actually don't think so. That's the thing I'll say. I don't know this. I was just told very specifically, like, might not be the first half, but yeah.
Wait, out of the half?
Yes, possibly. Still summer, but possibly out of the first half.
Okay. So that not necessarily all the pitchforks might come, because if you would have been like end of the year, You know,
No.
and
I
it got
mean,
a different energy.
I don't know what.
But outside, a little week or two outside of the little month outside of the
I don't
pocket.
know exactly. I just was told it may not be the first half. I didn't really poke around as much because I genuinely wasn't, again, sure if I wanted to report fully on it. But it was one of those things where I was like, well, I'm a big believer in like just information, like just maybe knowing what could be coming. This source is someone I trust quite a bit, and they've been very correct. And for those who trust my KOTOR stuff, this is the person that verified that stuff in the past, and that KOTOR stuff was 100% spot on every step of the way. Like nothing from that source was wrong. So yeah, Starfield is getting the possible bump out of the first half because it's currently undated. They could go through a test and go like, it is ready. It's just very up in the air in that regard. But I didn't get this degree of concern from it. Like, oh, it's screwed right now. My read, and it's just my read. This is beyond the scoop. Yeah. My read is, I could see this being a situation where like they're just getting the vision right. Because what's changed, and I know you've heard the same, and we talked about this on Defining Duke previously, is the scuttlebutt has become like good things are being said about Starfield. It wasn't like we've heard bad things and then I heard like, oh, might be not in the first half. It's like good things are being said. And I think what this is kind of that back against the wall, high pressure Xbox exclusive kind of energy where they need to nail it.
Absolutely.
And if you remember, Cog and Matty have kind of been team delay for a while for Starfield, and something about that June date just didn't sit right for me on where people were putting it. And I think that deep dive is going to be what satiates people. If they come out, and I don't know the date or anything like that, and it still is a possibility it comes out in that first half, which I hope it does. And also, hey, before I get into that next thought, I should clarify, this isn't the same source that was telling me, what was it, Starfield 2021, I think is what we were talking about originally. Completely different. This goes through the same wire I went through with Aspire and whatnot. So it's a lot more reliable. But I think a Starfield deep dive, the reason I wanted to bring it up here is I think if they come out and let's say hypothetically they go like, oh, July, but you just saw like 20, 30 minutes of it, you're going to kind of have that, oh, delay. But like, that's not that far out, regardless. I'm curious to see how they handle it though. I really am, because if I'm wrong, great. Like, happy to be wrong. I want this game as soon as possible. But if I'm right with that scoop, then I think it's good. Like I'm happy to hear that they may really truly take the time that game needs. Like, you look at how many systems are underneath the hood of that game: settlement building, crafting, leveling up, exploration, in space, on ground, et cetera, companions, stories, branching narrative paths. There's so much to this game. The beginning origin story that you pick your background. There's so much happening with this game. The amount of test runs they've probably had to do is nauseating. So, I just look at that and I'm like, that game, it never made sense to me that when you look at Starfield, that it needed only 7 more months based off its original launch window. And I was, a lot of people are like, no, Matty, no. I'm like, okay. So I just felt in the spirit of information, people should just know what I've heard. Again, I wouldn't have typically shared it, but it's through a more reliable source where I was like, okay, I'll go for it. Because I said to the person, I was like, can I report on this? They're like, yeah, it's up to you what you want to do with it. And I was just like, how much do I want to stick my neck out here? And so I wouldn't call it full extension, but yeah, like I just feel in the spirit of information. So I think that explains why it's not showing up here. To me, once I got that confirmation officially through Xbox, like, yeah, Starfield will be at a later date. I'm like, why? If it's coming in the first half, why? Everything else is apparently coming in the first half, so why this? So it'd make a little more sense. Like, I don't know when, but if we saw like a Starfield developer direct in March, it's like, okay, cool. Like, then if it's coming out in like July, August, I think it's a little easier to stomach. That's just my guess based off what's going on here. But I'm curious as to your thoughts on some of that.
This is the big one, man. I mean, look, this is, again, kudos to them for making the separation, I feel. Because as much as we want that massive show for the 25th, Starfield is critical. It is too important to Xbox. They cannot mess this up. They have to nail it. This is arguably the most important IP on Xbox's debut since Halo. That's what we're getting with Starfield. Because again, think about the multiverse alternate reality if Starfield is a flop. Right? You waited this long. There's technical issues. It's bad. This and it's Todd's new IP. You know what I mean? This sets off a tidal wave of negative energy, right? So every amount of polish, every amount of time has to be afforded to this game. The presentation has to be correct, right? Especially coming off fresh Halo Infinite memory and energy, right? You cannot have this happen for the next generation of Xbox, so to speak. So you got that. And then, to your point, as far as the release date and the cadence, if there's some fluidity there, placement is important. Placement is important. You want a new IP to shine correctly. You don't want it to be overshadowed. And I know everybody's saying with the Bethesda chest, and I'm Bethesda chest too, I get it, but you're not Elder Scrolls. You are new. People don't know you.
That's the other thing, right? Yeah, they need time to market this, right? It's a brand new thing.
It's so many unknowns. There's still stuff we don't know, right? We're like, yo, how do you do this? How is this system going to work? How are they going to interact? We're getting the bits and pieces, but we still don't have everything. There's still so many unknowns. Not that it's a bad thing, but they have to properly explain it, because the last thing you want is someone running with a narrative that you ain't control and now trashing your game, right? Or because it wasn't displayed right or showcased right or whatever. It has to show right. So look, I'm of the mindset, whatever time they need. I told people, hey, Brand, I love you. King, I love you. But you're wrong, because the gamers, and I say this playfully, these guys, those two are always right all the time. First, those are my brothers. This is just me being silly, so no disrespect. But the thing I have with gamers and hardcore gamers is we don't learn. Learn from the mistakes. Take your emotionality out of it, right? Which is, this game needs to important. Like Matty said, you said it last week. No one's going to care when it comes out if it is amazing. If it's an amazing game with the proper care and the proper respect and time given, and it does what it's supposed to do, that's what you're going to care about. But it's the Miyamoto quote, right? And if they fail, if it launches early, it could be cataclysmic. So look, I'm with this mindset. I don't have any problem with it. Even if they talk about, September, October, fine.
Yeah.
When it's ready, it'll come, and they'll be fine for it. And as far as the summer, yeah, we'll see. I guess the last question I have is, if it is past the June window, I guess my question to you is, can they show it again at E3?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm guessing, but I think so. Like, that's the thing that we were talking about. You need to show this game more. This, you mentioned earlier, like, it's not Elder Scrolls, it's not Fallout. I think regardless, like, this game needs to be shown multiple times ahead of its release, because, it's different. It's not Bethesda marketing it, and it's not that known IP. So there's two factors there that are now removed. It's like, this is Xbox's game that they're trying to market as the big console selling exclusive. And, it's a new IP, right? So you need to really put it out there into the public consciousness of, like, this is what it's going to be. But I imagine what they're doing, regardless of any possible delay or not, what I think is just happening here is, like, they need to make 100% sure this thing's good to go when it's ready to go, and when that time is known, they'll go all in on marketing. This has to be the one that they scream from the rooftop. If they're already taking an aggressive front on communication, and Starfield is not something they're screaming from the rooftop, something's deeply wrong. But I'm not getting that feeling here with Xbox's communication energy in 2023.
Yeah, and we've heard the chirps. I don't know how much you want to take into account into it, as far as potential playable builds being run around right now. Internally, allegedly, the feeling is positive about what is being played. People are excited. So, we'll see. We'll see if all that comes to fruition. But we do recognize the importance of this, and kudos to them for separating it, because I know the gut instinct, the inclination is, why isn't it there? What's going on? But it's an importance factor, and they have to nail this. And I
also think it gives
want
these other games time to breathe. Like,
to breathe, brother. You got to let Redfall breathe. Good point. You got to let all these other things breathe. Because one thing I really respect about Sony, and I had this conversation on ILP, is I remember seeing Ghost of Tsushima for the first time on a dedicated Sony Direct single focus, and you learned about the wind, and you give the attention to the developer of the game. Starfield deserves that. We need to know about all these systems, these planets, what's 100%. Going on, the conversation, the factions, and have it done. I want Xbox to treat their games with that reverence, that respect, that pomp and circumstance. That's what Sony does well. The cinematic feel, it's like a movie. Let's come on, y'all. Get in the front, get your popcorn. Let's see what this is about. Let's go. That's what I want, and I love that they're listening to the Dukes, man. They're taking advice.
Yeah, they are on multiple fronts here. As 2 points, I'm going to pat myself on the back. And I do that type of back patting, by the way, strictly because I know if I don't, then the audience will never catch on to it. And I need people to know, like, Dukes are on fire lately. Who's been fucking saying that they need to do a separate showcase for Starfield for how long now? I've been saying for so long, if they got to market in 2023, you cannot keep them all together. Delay or not, Starfield needs its own window. Let Todd Howard do his thing for like half an hour. I guarantee that's what they're going to do. The other thing we'll talk about is with Redfall, but I'll save that back patent for later.
We'll say that one.
I wanted to highlight this right in here on a Forza front because it's interesting, like how informed this writing is, because it shows, I think, our show is growing a little bit, because like we typically don't get this type of in-depth writing about this, but I think it's great. So Jay Booger 327 writes in, "Greetings, Dukes. After listening to the Xbox 2 show, Iron Lords podcast, and Defining Duke, I think the Xbots podcast collective needs a serious gut check on Forza Motorsport. Everyone in the community is ready to hand Forza an 80+ Metacritic score without really knowing what makes racing games good. I'm sure everyone isn't looking at past titles or gameplay, but the online multiplayer is broken. If Forza Motorsport 8 comes out with a broken multiplayer that will not allow for competitive racing, I'm talking good net code that can predict if a car is going to take you out from behind by, quote, missing a braking point, end quote, or running side by side with a competitor that literally drives you off the road, this series should wrap it up and throw in the towel. A simple ghosting out of cars is needed and absolutely necessary to build an esports presence. As much as the gaming community hated Gran Turismo 7's microtransactions, it has the best multiplayer experience in racing next to iRacing, a game made in 2008. You can talk all you want about ray tracing and how phenomenal the cars and tracks look, but where the rubber meets the road matters. Tire models matter. Car setup matters. Aerodynamics matter. I really, really want this game to do well. But I fear because no one in the community really cares, because as long as there are cars that come with four wheels, people will say it's great. There is a saying about racing that the more you know about the sport, the more interesting it gets. But can we please do some due diligence and get educated about the game and subject before launch? They are debuting some brand new prototype race cars in-game that are due to hit Daytona come the end of January. That should have been an Easter egg, but no one knows it enough to call it out. But there are questions that hopefully this rumored show will answer. What is the track list? Will there be rain? Is there a day-night cycle for us endurance racers? Sorry for the rambles, but Forza Motorsport, show me your build. Have a good one. So Jay Booger is absolutely incensed with us, with Rand, with Jez, with ILP.
He's furious.
And he's out here with dropping terms that I would have never talked about the aerodynamics in a Forza Motorsport game. And hey, look, he's on the money. Like when he talks education on these games, I'm never going to pretend to know anything beyond exactly what he said. The visuals, the feel of the game, but I don't know what I'm feeling. I just know it feels good, like in the case of Forza Motorsport. So I'm sure it does sound like nails on a chalkboard to Jay Booger. What is your feeling, though, on what's happening here? I'm trying to hold back any snark. I'm trying to Be very.
I got a little snark for him. I got a little snark for him.
Okay, you got snark. All right, we go snark.
Boy, he ain't gonna just come in here and just say what he want. Now, here's the thing. I feel this is where I align with him. Where I align is that from a simulation standpoint, if you're a hardcore simulation standpoint racer or sports guy, like where he's at with Forza Motorsport and hardcore races, where I'm at with like baseball and basketball simulation, right? When I look at an MLB The Show and I look at, what's going on in 2K or what have you, and there's certain nuances of the sport that if you're hardcore and you know about it, you want it replicated correctly, right? Now, as far as the net code and stuff like that, he's absolutely right. I have heard those rumors before as far as motorsport is concerned. I don't play motorsports like that. I'm very casual. I've been very clear with motorsport that I'm very casual, that I am a 10-year Horizon guy. That's my game of choice because it is the casual racer. It is the arcade open world, more fun and more popular, by the way, of the series. More popular, just for the record. But motorsport to you guys, I love you guys though, because you are the rubber meets the road. You are the guys that's sitting there tuning. You are those dudes. And I'll tell you, I love when simulation guys get what they want. I like when people get the true racing experience. There was a pocket Cog was back in the day with his little F1. You know what I'm saying? When I used to mess around with that. I used to mess around with the IndyCar scene. You know what I'm saying? And Mario Andretti's and all that. The Paul Tracy's out there. I used to watch them joints. I used to be about it for a little bit. And I wanted the accurate pit stop, the tire representation. I wanted all of that. I feel you on some level. Right? So all I would say is, yes, hold their feet to the fire. Yes, we're going to watch the showcase. We're going to see if they improved on that aspect, because if GT7 is doing that, then yes, they need to catch up. I'm with you. They need to be there they need to step that part if you consider yourself the champion of the simulation racer. So I'm with them on that. And I love the passion. I think it's great. I will give him credit that, yes, the casuals like us will get infatuated with the ray tracing and infatuated with the other things. We'll look at the pretty pictures, the lights, and we love that. We just want it to look good, like Matty said, look good, play good, feel good. And it's in Game Pass. I'm never going to sit there and dedicate myself and say, I'm definitely going to do all this hardcore stuff. But if it's presented well, and guys like Jay Booger say, yo, they did that, they could improve these features. I like to get a pulse of the hardcore community. Mm-hmm. So salute to him on that. And we'll see what happens if they actually improve that aspect of the game. So
yeah. I had a friend who I think he played Motorsport 4 on the 360. I'll have to check if it came out then, but I think what pushed me off of Motorsport more than anything was this dude played Motorsport for, a couple dozen hours and came in and suddenly he's the car guy. He knows everything about cars. You're getting explained top to bottom, every vehicle in every game. He's like, those tires are kind of like the aerodynamics, same energy as Jay Booger here. And so Jay Booger, just know you gave me that flashback to my friend. He was Noah, former host of Ham Radio Podcast for my OG listeners out there.
Salute.
My man was like, he was coming out there like the car guy. And he started watching oh my God, what is that? F1 and I think Top Flight.
Top Gear, all that. Yeah.
Just a big expert all of a sudden. So there's a serious investment that goes into being accurate with Forza coverage, I would have to imagine. I don't know if I got it in me, but what I got in me is some Redfall.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about it. Number 2. There was a report or I shouldn't say a report, rather a interview done by Games Radar, where they went through a number of brand new details for Redfall, and perhaps they're more important now, given that we're going to be seeing it in just about 2 weeks. Let's start off with a couple of key quotes here. First, on the Left 4 Dead comparisons that the game was met with. Quote, "It's totally understandable for somebody to come to that conclusion. There are 4 playable characters. You can play together cooperatively, and you're going against the undead. But in the terms of the way you play and experience Redfall, it's not like those games at all. Redfall is more like loading into Far Cry," end quote. Don't you look at me like that. I got thoughts. Don't worry. I got thoughts. Next one. How you approach Redfall's open world. Quote, "You're in a big ass open world," enthuses Bear. "We have a home base where you can talk to NPCs and get side quests. You can go to the mission table and pick up story-driven missions, or you can not give a shit about any of that and just head outside, pick a direction and start hauling ass and run into the living world stuff that we have going on, end quote. Now, while you're out in that open world, how about some of the content that you'll see in Redfall? Quote, Redfall's world is divided into two distinct districts. One is sprawling urban, and the other more rural in design. There are neighborhoods held hostage by vampires. Liberating these parts of town for the people will open up safe houses and make it more comfortable for the citizens who couldn't escape before the island was cut off from civilization. You'll encounter survivors who may ask you for a favor or two, with the opportunity to level up and earn new gear waiting as a reward. Nests can emerge as a shared psychic space should a group of vampires fall into a blood trance. Storms form gradually over time, signaling the arrival of powerful vampire gods called rooks. Bellwether security squads patrol the island, and the cultists set up roadblocks to bottleneck anyone who committed to the land of the living, or who remains anyone who remain committed to the land of the living. And then there's the story campaign that underpins the adventure, which follows the fallout of a scientific longevity experiment gone exceptionally wrong. You may start a mission at high noon and get distracted all along the way. By the time you reach your objective, it may be nighttime with different enemy spawns. Every slight difference pushes you, naturally, to take a different approach, end quote. Now, in the future of Arkane games, quote, I think we'll eventually go back to the very sealed, immersive sim-like environments, Harvey considers. But just once, we wanted to know what it would be like to wander an Arkane open world and see where each little road takes you, end quote. Sounds like a good choice to me. To alleviate the scale concerns of the game, quote, in terms of freedom, there's what you would expect from other open worlds, but Redfall is an on-foot game. The scale and the pace is a little slowed down in that respect, says Bear. We want you creeping through the cornfield at night in the fog, hearing vampire whispers in the dark. Maybe you'll spot a farmhouse in the distance and sneak over to it, only to find that it's full of cultists and a few trapped survivors who you can save. That's the kind of vibe that Redfall has, end quote. Now, as for single player versus co-op, once you start the campaign, your character selection is locked in for the duration of the game. If you choose to play solo, you'll do so without the other three heroes around you. In co-op, there is no restriction on multiples of the same vampire hunter joining one party, although Smith says that there are benefits to having a well-rounded group outside of the variety it will bring to combat. Smith also says, quote, we have a very dynamic dialogue system where, depending on what heroes you put together in combination, they will talk to each other and get to know one another. And we have a mechanical system where the longer the heroes play together, the more intimate their dialogue lines become, and eventually they'll get a game mechanic called the trust buff, end quote. Lastly, Game Pass. Quote, the pool that Game Pass offers is huge for us. It's kind of shocking and scary in a way. Like, how many people are going to play Redfall in the first week? What if it's a lot more than we anticipated? We're going to get a lot of feedback very quickly, and a lot of people will see what we've spent the last few years working on. Redfall is our pandemic game, man. It's easy to forget now, but there were dark days during the pandemic. People on my team were sitting at home alone, losing their minds because we didn't have vaccines yet, and nobody was sure what it meant for their kids and for the economy. The team carried each other through it all. ZeniMax, Bethesda, and Microsoft were very good to us during that difficult time. Now that we're on the other side of it, the last thing I've got to do here is ship Redfall, end quote. Don Otaku writes in, what's up, Mr. Third-Person Over-the-Shoulder Action Game Matty and Lord First-Person Games as a Service 10-Year Plan Cog? With recent interviews with Arkane devs about Redfall, we've heard them clear up the Left 4 Dead with vampires misconception, but make the comparison to Far Cry. While I've heard Matty's qualms about the comparison, this sounds amazing in my opinion. Oh, Don, oh, Don, oh, Don. I know with Far Cry today, most think of map vomit and hundreds of uninteresting side quests and outposts. But this is Arkane, and they are all about exploration and experimentation with minimal hand-holding. I think they only see what makes Far Cry good. especially Far Cry 2 and 3. They were basically great open world immersive sims, with 3 adding in well-done RPG elements with a fun skill tree. I think this is a great base to build on top of. What do you think about Redfall at this point in time now? Have a Lord Cognito and the Iron Lords Podcast LLC officially consider God of War Ragnarok a B-tier game on the same level of Grounded and Pentiment kind of day? Explain yourself, sir. What happened there?
Yo, he filed for that. First, shout out to Down and Taco, a regular listener to the show. He knows damn well what happened. He knows damn well we all had God of War Ragnarok as almost an A tier / S tier game of the year kind of situation. But one Lord exhausted all his vetoes to keep it in the B tier. I'll let you guys guess who that Lord was. I won. Exactly. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
There was, I had some contempt for this game, man, whatever. But anyway, it is what it is. But let's get on track. So, man, this is you, man. I'm dying. I got thoughts, but I cannot start this segment off without the beloved arcade lover, should I say, concerned Redfall enthusiast.
Yes. First, a little pat on my back, right? Remember, those who listen to Defining Duke always remember, because y'all don't hesitate to call us out when we do something wrong. You'll remember. He took one look at this game. People were like, Left 4 Dead, bro. Left 4 Dead. What was the game that Matty said this was actually like, and why I was very scared? I said Far Cry.
Far Cry.
I said Far Cry. And I was like, I don't like that it's like Far Cry. Far Cry's level design isn't very good, man. It's not. And there was nothing about it that was encouraging that would make you want to follow it. So for them to reaffirm some of my fears there, not crazy about it. Not okay. Our best foot forward here on the showcase announcement week. But what I'll say is this. Okay, I'll spin it into a positive. I do view Arkane as a special talent. There are skill levels to this, and I gotta keep my energy on this level. I always say there are levels to skill in the industry, whether we want to admit it or not. I think Arkane, even on their worst day, is much better than Ubisoft. So I could see Arkane kind of doing a Ghost of Tsushima here. Remember, we saw Ghost of Tsushima, we're like, oh no, the third-person open world game. It's Ubisoft like, oh, because of the wind, because of the combat, because of the stances, it's like, okay, this is very different, and I love this thing, right? I'm willing to remain open to being proven wrong on that with Redfall, where I could see, because it is Arkane, because they do have that talent, because they have that, I think, difference maker talent in Harvey Smith, that they're not just going to make a Far Cry clone. But to me, as a spectator from the outside looking in, it's not a point that enthuses me greatly. It's not. But I do believe they can find wrinkles within that Far Cry formula and kind of deliver something that, like, I never would have thought of for a Far Cry game, or enough differences where I go like, yeah, you know what? This is good. And to that, I'll just remain in my kind of neutral state of like, there's some stuff I'm liking that I'm seeing, and maybe I ramp up that excitement when we see that extended look. Like, now's the perfect time. My doubts are in the air, and they can dash them away. So that's something I'll be keeping a close eye on. Like, when Redfall rolls around at the developer direct, how will it look? What will it deliver? Those bosses, that open world content, that loot. They mentioned a mission table as well. I don't know if it was Avengers or something. Then once I hear mission table, mission globe, I think of Inquisition. No good game that I can think of has a mission table. No good game has that, right? A good game leads you from there to point A to point B to point C to D, E, and so on, right? But this game's got the hub, the home base, the come back and fuck with the table, and now you've got 8 missions on your quest log. Like, man, there's so much I want to love about this game. Like, when I watch the trailers, I'm like, oh, it's bloody. Like, it's got a lot of environmental storytelling. That could be a difference maker. But like, what's the interaction like? What's the immersive sim elements like? Like, those are the difference makers I haven't seen yet that could put me over the top. But right now, it's very FPS focused, and they said that themselves in this interview. Like, it's definitely their most first person shooter focused game. Not crazy
Got that id.
about that.
Oh, you not crazy? You not crazy about the id software help?
I mean, that's cool. But like, for example, Machine Games helped with Fallout 4. Didn't make it like an amazing first-person shooter.
Fair.
It made it a functional one. So, fair. Again, this kind of just reaffirmed my kind of skepticism. You saw around Halloween, I was giving myself over a little bit. That new trailer.
Yeah, you were coming around.
I was opening up. I was like, all right, maybe I was wrong. And I'm not saying I'm not wrong or I am right here, but I was kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and be like, I'm looking forward to this one. And then this news hits and I'm like, nah, I'm going back inside. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not going outside now. Like, not yet. So
all right.
That's where I stand on Redfall. Some of these details, sound cool. Like the crawling through the cornfield. I could see that, right? I could see what they're talking about. The cooperative elements, the no limitations on who wants to play as who. I love that type of stuff. What about
single player Matty mode? What about single player where they say you just stay yourself and you just in the world. You don't get to play with 3 other people. What if that kind of gives you the arcade old school vibe?
No. Because, here's the reason I say no. I think this game will be best played in co-op. And I don't know if I can think of, outside of Outriders, I don't think I can think of a single game that had co-op focus, was marketed with co-op, and when I played it, it felt just as good in single player. It was just as fun in single player as it was in co-op. Someone can correct me or like throw out examples that I'm not thinking of, but I don't, just by law of numbers, I'm not going to put that in its favor. This could be another difference maker and just be really fun in single player. But just based off my experience, like, that is the only game I can think of being Outriders where I was like, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I didn't feel like I missed anything at all here without playing with 2 other friends online. And when it comes to Redfall, I just, I don't know, man. Will they have that X factor too? We'll see. We'll see. Here's how they would have the X factor. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Those immersive sim elements will be huge. If I can crawl into every house, I can pick up books, I can pick up quests on the fly, I can interact. If I can do that type of stuff, that'd be great. But with Deathloop, they didn't show me that. They showed me that because of the online component, they had to limit what they did so well.
Right.
And that is, when a game's all in on co-op now and open world, I'm not going to fault them for not, doing something that doesn't exist and obeying the ramifications of their own video game. But as a studio with pedigree, it will possibly come across as disappointing. So, where I stand on it is, again, very neutral, but this kind of reaffirmed that stance where I'm like, can't get too excited yet. But you, my friend, have been the Redfall guy. I believe this cracked your top 5 most anticipated. Do I remember correctly? So how do you feel about what you heard during this little segment?
Let me give the LSM audience some contrast here.
You disagree?
We highly disagree on this one. But it's I understand where your thoughts are based from because you have the pedigree and you have the history over me. I can never dispute you on that. Like, what Arkane is known for. You know it. Like, I'm never, listen, you're the guy on that. I will say that just off of this latest information, Cog's been polling the streets. I want to get a temperature. What's everybody?
Ears that are ground for defining dude.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I got my Matty beat reporter mic round. I'm going around. I'm like, what do you feel right now? After this new information, how do you feel? Because I don't want to bias myself. I know how I felt, but I want to know how they felt.
Sure.
And they're like, you know what they're telling me, Matty?
Let's hear what the streets are saying.
This is what the streets are saying. They said, Cog, not only are we excited, but guess what? I'm really upset you now. We're more excited for Redfall than Starfield.
Hey, look, man.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Why? And they like, I spoke to my man Saul first. He was like, look, man, I said, you're a single player, Saul. Like,
wait, Saul is more excited for Redfall than...
I felt betrayed on IOP this Sunday. Shout out to you, Saul.
He's listening right now, too, now. You can't listen to my show anymore. Come on now.
Bro, he was like, look, I love the idea of what they're doing here, right? I spoke to a couple other people and they were like, yo, it's something about it. I'm really feeling this really, the Far Cry thing went over well to them. They were like, yo,
How?
Bro, they were like the formula.
So bad and it just came out.
And they said that this is Arkane spin on it. So they've got tremendous confidence, and the open world aspect and the density aspect really excites them.
Good for that, man.
So interesting, right? So I will say the streets are hype right now for Redfall. Redfall went up a lot of notches in public eye.
That's so
because of this information. I'm just telling you what the streets are saying. This kind of like a Deathloop situation for you. It might be happening to you all over again.
I swear.
When you there with the flannel, holding on for dear life, and the rest of everybody else in the club like, oh, flannel, new flannel. You could be that situation. It might be shaping up that way. This is what I'll say. Look, I'm in the middle because there's a part of me that is excited, but I do have concerns about how they're going to handle the multiplayer implementation. We talked about, the progression. We already talked about that. Now they're talking about, okay, if you take the character, you lock it in. But what I'm hearing is for story interaction, for character interaction, that personality. They don't want you jumping out. And then when I hear that stuff about the narrative, and as the game goes on, I actually love games that do interactive dialogue between the party members and the characters. And surprisingly, and this is going to really piss you off now, really get on your nerves today. Oh man, I really like Dragon Inquisition.
What?
Inquisition,
brother.
Yeah.
What about Origins?
No, fire. But I really like Dragon Inquisition. I really liked it. I did. I finished that game. And let me tell you why I liked it. Now, where Matty gets upset with map boards and all of that, I get you.
You love the war table. No, man.
I didn't say I was like, oh my God, there's a war table.
You were all about it, though. You were all about it.
No. It doesn't bother me the way it bothers you. That's all. It's not like I'm looking for this feature.
That's what I thought right away when I read about this mission table. I thought about Avengers and I thought about Inquisition. I was like, fuck.
It doesn't have that negative. I don't come in there and be like, oh, damn, this war table, I'm pissed off. It's just like, oh, okay,
grinding side quests to get power to unlock new missions. That's the energy I'm getting here from this write-up. Is like, what if Redfall is like, to get your next story mission, you got to go conquer and save 18 survivors on this mission. It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. I'm going to be shaking in my boots for them at that point. I'm like, oh, no.
Listen, I feel you. I get it. A lot of people like that. A lot of people will be like, some people are like, yo, that's not for me. I just think that the point I was just getting to was like, I remember playing Inquisition and I had my character, whoever you picked, I had Bull, I had Solas, yes. You know what I'm saying? And I had my little short man, which is Varric?
Yes.
Varric?
Yep.
Varric. Okay, Varric. The little short, the dwarf with the thing. That's my guy. Yeah. And depending on the party members, that dialogue while you're crusting across, you're trapped, trekking across the map, you're going to different areas as the Inquisitor, and the natural dialogue will be so cool, depending on your party members and stuff like that. Like, I remember back in the day when Mass Effect did it on a smaller scale. Like, they would have a couple of lines here and there, depending on team composition, right? And I always loved, because it added personality, like, okay, this one likes that. But now they're talking about as you get deeper, you're building up a trust and stuff like that. I like that they're still holding on a little bit to the stealth mechanics. I'm with you. I have trepidation on how that really is going to work on a co-op level. It's not all roses. There's some things I still got to see how they execute, but I kind of like the biggest takeaway I say is this. I like that they separated themselves from Left 4 Dead. I know you were on it, right? Early, but I will say, like, I wanted this to be more than just some Back 4 Blood vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted this to be a true story, a true open world, a density and a narrative. And I like the synergistic aspect of the powers of each one. And them saying that, yeah, you could play the same character, but will you really be effective doing that if the other people have that? So look, I'm optimistic. I'm still in a good place with it. You know what I mean? But we have to see the execution. To me, it's going to be make or break how they execute the multiplayer, how integral it is, and most I will give you this. Most cooperative games, it's rare for them to have a story that I feel is super riveting, that I would rank it on the same level as a pure single player experience. I'm trying to think very hard and deep, maybe what games do that or what I rank. There's some good ones, but I'm talking about great, right? I do feel that single player, because you're not tied into so many, characters and systems and things, that you have more ability to focus, like you said, and double down and pick up every book in the world, learn about the lore. You can't do that if your man is, yo, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, so I get you. I know where you're at. I do understand some of the trepidation, but I tell you, man, I'm still excited. And the streets are, I'm just letting you know right now, the streets are more excited for Redfall than Starfield.
Streets are also trying to shut down Hogwarts Legacy. We know how we both feel about that one. So
not those streets, not the media streets, the gamer streets. But we'll see. And remember, as much as you hate Dishonored, I mean, what you call it? Definitely.
Yeah. I was gonna have to step in with correction.
Freudian slip. I was trying to be messy. That was a Freudian slip. As much as you hate Deathloop, the streets felt otherwise. Just gotta remember what the streets say. That's all.
The streets can feel how they wish to feel. I would love to be one of them. I really would. I don't like being this guy who's just like, man.
But you got to speak with your heart, and I love that. You stand on your square, and I respect your stance because I know where it comes from, and I think it's a pure stance based on who they are. Because I know when I'm in your shoes and I love a company for something, and they start doing other things, it does bother me. And I'm just like, man, but this is what you do, and no one does this better than you, and now you're capitulating, right? Yeah. So
it's because they got their foot halfway through the door here. It's like, you want your immersive civ elements. You've said multiple times, like, we're still doing that, but we want to see how it was like on an open world. I'm like, so this doesn't scream to me like you need to creatively break out and do something truly different. Like, you still are retaining these elements. You're just doing them on a bigger scale. But typically when they get bigger, they get watered down and you lose some of that. And that's where I'm like, so what's the goal here? What are we accomplishing here? Just a co-op game, relevance, and I think that's it. I just think the games have failed to catch fire. And so multiplayer with Game Pass is a surefire way to do that.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. It is. Don't throw the side Game Pass fathers undertow.
Yeah. I mean, look, they said it was scary because, like, what? You got close to 30 million people subscribed there, right? You got a co-op first-party game. This game's going to be massive, right? Because you got a first-party co-op game, unique setting, and it's going to drop day one in Game Pass. Like, millions of people are going to be playing this game, no doubt about it. Which may be more than they could ever say before. And you got to remember one thing, right? When I say you, I'm talking to myself, by the way.
I know what you mean.
Which is, when Phil talked about Starfield, he always said, we want to make it the most played Bethesda Game Studios game yet. I can't imagine that's an exclusive vision for just them. Like, that was the sales pitch for just Bethesda Game Studios. I imagine this is the goal for all of these other teams underneath Bethesda. And if that's the case, then Redfall could accomplish something pretty special for them. And I will recognize that, and I will honor that. I just will not bend the knee that I'm going to love it so far.
I feel that. I understand your position. I just two food for thought before we move, because this is a great topic. Is that, one, we just talked about Matt Brown. And we talked about the burnout of doing the same type of thing. And they have expressed, Arkane has expressed, this was their pandemic game. They've always wanted to do something like this, right? Yo, man, he rolled his eyes hard, y'all. Audio listeners, you got to see that eye roll was crazy. So you got your team said, look, we're known for that, but this is a pandemic. We always want to make our spin off Far Cry. So part of Xbox's appeal, being acquired, is getting a chance to do what you want to do. And then number two, which is another important factor, what you said, we got to be real now on the economics and the business. Right? As much as you love your flannel, joints wasn't moving out here.
You didn't have to say it.
Just on a financial, they were still on the shelf at Macy's. People was walking past it, even though they were the greatest frazzle. If they tried it, it was the greatest feeling, the tightest fit, the hottest swag. But for whatever reason, people were going to buy these other knockoffs and not that real, that Matty had, right? So now they get acquired. They're in a bigger store, a little more promotion, a little more advertising. And now they made little alterations a little popular for the masses that might get them a better look. But I will say, he did say they're going back to Matty. They're going back. They said this is something.
They know what's
all right. So, and they just, bro, they got security now. They want to try this thing different, little spin, not completely different. But then we're going back to what Matty loves. So that gives me hope for you that they not going to completely just, I don't want to use the term sell out because that's a bad word, but completely go away from the essence of who they are. This is something they just want to do. But that's all I wanted to say. But I know Matty's,
we'll see.
We'll feel how
a couple weeks away. We'll have some answers.
We'll see. All
right, number 3. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. On January 19th, you are going to receive Persona 3 Portable on cloud, console, and PC, as well as Persona 4 Golden on cloud, console, and PC. First time on Xbox. Then, also first time on Xbox, Monster Hunter Rise, January 20th, cloud, console, and PC. Leaving on January 15th, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, cloud, console, PC. Nobody Saves the World, cloud, console, PC. 1-year exclusivity, by the way. Keep these numbers in mind. Paparazzi, cloud, console, PC. The Anacrusis, still in game preview, by the way. Cloud, console, PC. Not looking good for that game. We Happy Few, cloud, console, PC. First party game, Compulsion Games. Windjammers 2, cloud, console, PC. So more exits than entries, and the Muffin Mon has the write-in of the week, I'd say.
That's my dude. Salute.
Hello, Dukes. Well, it finally happened. We got a Game Pass drop announcement post after 5 weeks of nothing, and it's only 2 Persona games in Monster Hunter Rise. Are they saving the announcements for the rumored end of the month event? I hope we get a SpongeBob Cosmic Shake spoiler cast kind of day. Look.
Let's go.
I am very surprised by the reaction here. Not Muffin Mountain specifically, but I'm very surprised by the energy I've seen from the Xbox community. Only 3, bro. I am stunned by this, Cog, because I'm sitting here going, look, obviously I'm very biased. I love Persona. It's my favorite JRPG series. I love Persona. Let's make that very clear with emphasis.
Factual.
But this is something we've been asking for a while. This is a big deal. It's finally here. And when it's here, the question we give back is, what else? What else you got, huh? These are 3 big games. And look, I'm just going to say we've had a tough time keeping up. Not we, you, and I, although that's kind of true with all that's coming out. But the cadence that Game Pass was at, I think was sustainable to some degree. But they were dumping stuff in our laps that just... We got in the same month Hitman Trilogy and Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Yeah. Phenomenal, by the way. And we were praising them for that. And that's what value is. But those were games that you could not play all 6 of those in a month before the next new drop of Game Pass games arrived. It was unplayable. You still had to pick and choose. I would take this kind of drop more consistently. 3 games, all high quality, all awesome, all highly sought after, right there. And that's it for a little bit. If you keep that level of quality, I can live with this type of drop. But I was very surprised that after all the begging we did with Persona, it's finally there with Royal. We got the kind of almost like marketing, like this was a big deal for Xbox.
Talk.
And we get 3 portable. More importantly for a lot of people, 4 golden, which was stranded on the Vita and PS2, and then subsequently PC in 2020. We finally get it. And our response is, what else you got? I'm just shocked, man. I think this is a great drop. I have more to say about what's leaving than what's entering, frankly. But, Cog, I'm just curious about the energy we're seeing being held for the latest arrivals to Game Pass.
Yeah, 100% in alignment. I'm calling out the Xbox community.
Oh, okay.
This is fraudulent behavior. It's fraudulent behavior. And Muffin Man, I love you. I love it. Muffin Man's my guy. That's my guy. He's turn-based. That's my dude. And look, we got our preferences. Not everything's for everybody. But again, these are the things people say. It's like, bro, like these type of games historically miss the platform. In the Phil Spencer era, we are seeing them right the wrong, and they are making the platform. Especially what you said about the Vita game. Was it 3? Which one is the Vita
Persona
game?
4 Golden.
4 Golden, right? Didn't really see the light. It comes. And people sleeping on Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is huge, bro. Like, that
Monster Hunter Rise is
huge
great,
game.
by the way. If you've never played Monster Hunter, Rise is like very action focused. It's so much fun. Sorry, continue though.
And no, you're right. I'm not even, what's crazy, I'm not even a huge Monster Hunter fan like that. But I recognize the importance. I understand. I remember picking these games up on the Monster Hunter series up on Switch and be like, wow, okay, I see the appeal. I get it now, right? Bro, this is a huge deal. And this is going to get in also markets that historically love these franchises to now say Xbox, you can play it. Look, I'm never going to force anyone to play something they don't want to play. But it would behoove you to at least try the game. Because that's another thing. Like, some of these dudes complaining about, yo, when they going to do this? When they going to give us a conference? Then Xbox do it. Oh, that's it? What? Like, see, this is where gamers get on my nerves. Like, bro, you can't do that. Y'all can't do that. Y'all have to really objectively look at this thing and say, look, they're putting games and franchises that's not on the platform, that historically are not on the platform. They're making it accessible. This is a good thing. Let's see, maybe we check it out and see what the hype is. And maybe it's still not for you. Fine. Just try it. That's all I'm saying. It's a game, man.
That's what it's about, right? I just think it's a high quality drop. Like, you got 2 of the most sought after JRPGs for Xbox you finally arriving, and you got a really good Monster Hunter game coming to Xbox, and we're complaining. I
saw tweets like, "Oh, that's it."
That's it.
I'm like, damn.
Like 5 weeks of silence is like, yeah, they were on holidays and they came back and like this was a monster drop. Like, last year they definitely had more. But this to me is like higher quality, guaranteed quality. Like that's the difference. Like the standout in January, again, were Mass Effect and Hitman, which were fantastic, by the way. Like easy Game Pass pick of the weeks for us. Like, that's what's wonderful. We just don't even got to think. We're like, yeah, you got to go do this one. Like, go check it out, everyone. But, here we have a smaller selection, no doubt, but I think a strong one. And I think with how many games that are coming out, and how much Xbox plans to release, this is something we should prepare ourselves for, because as they start to get their first party rolling, we've talked about this before, as they start getting that first party rolling, they don't need to go out and spend more because they got the in-house support. And they might even lessen what they're putting in there in certain months because it's someone else's time.
Exactly.
So, I know Xbox isn't nefarious like that, but the timing is interesting, to say the least here.
No, yeah, that's a good point. No, that's an excellent point. And to your last point, it was just like, I thought it was interesting what is leaving. I think we start to see some patterns emerge. Obviously, Nobody Saves the World's excellent game. The Amazing Graham was on the Dukes with us before. That's an amazing game that's leaving the service. So we're starting to see some of the structure of the Game Pass deals being that 1 year timing.
1 year, like, okay, 3 months. One of those two, yeah.
Give them a bag, 1 year, 3 months, then they come out, rest in peace to Dangan. I was surprised to see this on the list, to be honest.
So you weren't surprised, sir?
No, I said I was surprised. I was like, oh, wow, it's coming out.
Right, weren't.
Now, I won't be disrespectful to you.
You can't be.
So it's like that, and then Anna Crucis sounds like, but the biggest surprise is We Happy Few. I got to dig into that.
I did a little digging. So
hit me.
It was published by Gearbox. Now, what that got me thinking, and I actually apologize. Someone wrote in about this. I saw afterward, but it got me thinking as well about The Outer Worlds.
Yes,
published by Private Division.
Private Division.
Will that be staying for the long haul?
That's a good question.
So I found it interesting that Xbox even let this one go. And I get that this may be to them not their defining game, I wasn't crazy about We Happy Few, but it wasn't bad. It was one of those games that like had a true sense of place. It was very unique. Everyone knows the scene, like, you are off your joy. Like, one of the most iconic game reveals in my eyes. Like,
Oh,
the
yes.
Bioshock vibes were strong. And when you play it, you find out it's like a lot of procedural generated content. Very weird video game, but not by any means bad. And certainly like a good step forward for the company and kind of an encouraging look for those who are curious on like what they're capable of. Because again, now knowing that they got the Xbox money, they don't got to mess around with procedural generation. This is what I'm talking about, though. I don't want to overreact here, but this is something we got to watch about Xbox holding on to legacies. Something that does the KOTOR remake a little bit. I was like, Xbox just doesn't seem to care anymore about what had legacy and what didn't. And to me, you make what Compulsions had, like you did with every other first party studio, what they had, that Xbox staple. Like, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be in Game Pass, even if it's something that's kind of middling for many, like We Happy Few.
Yeah.
Again, not going to overreact here. But it's easy to just not overreact to We Happy Few. But when you think about it with, again, like The Outer Worlds leaving, suddenly we're going to get a lot more write-ins. What's going on? What's happening? Why are they doing this? And so I think it's like better for us to kind of get ahead of this and discuss what could be transpiring here. And that I think these are things worth protecting, especially like, what if Compulsion comes around and says, well, we want to make a We Happy Few sequel under Xbox? What about the first one? Doesn't the first one matter to them? Same thing with Xbox. We're going to make The Outer Worlds 2. It's going to be exclusive. So if that were to ever leave the platform, I'm sorry, not the platform, that were ever to leave Game Pass, I'd be a little concerned because I'm like, y'all are making a sequel exclusive and you're not making the first one accessible. Again, that's a hypothetical, but it's just worth thinking about on letting something like that go. Not the biggest deal, not the most played Game Pass game, but I just think for optics, important to hold on to.
Absolutely. And what last thing I would say, I want to know what's the structure of that deal that wouldn't make it beneficial to remain on a platform, or potential, is it out of their control because of ownership? There's a lot of questions I have here because it does seem weird. I'm with you. Like, what would think, bro? Like you said, if it's Compulsion, your first party, why can't it stay there?
Yeah, remember we saw with Origami too. They were gonna leave, and then suddenly they tweeted like, "No, we're actually staying. We re-upped the contract and stuff." I'm like, "Cool." Why wasn't this met with that same kind of urgency for a first-party studio game? Strange.
Yeah, let's see if I can dig a little.
Yeah, very odd. Yeah, you got connections there. You can find out what's going on. But Psych Coffee calls some attention to a very, very important topic here. Hey, Dukes, this one's mainly for Matty, but please jump in, Cog, if you have thoughts. Did you know Danganronpa 1 is leaving Game Pass? This leads me to believe the rest of the series will follow shortly. I thought this was a big get for Game Pass, and Xbox would have kept it on longer. What are your thoughts? Have a good one, guys. This is a tragedy, man. This is tragic. What's happening here is absolutely tragic. It's not enough that it's on the platform. This needs to be visible for more people because now I can't just preach. Now they've made it awkward for me. Now I got to say, well, 1, 2, and 3 are on Game Pass. You got to go buy the first one. I swear it's worth it. It's so hard to recommend now. Now I don't have the legion of LSM coming into the replies every day saying, I downloaded it, I tried it. Wow, man, it really delivered. None of that action's going on now. And that's so disappointing. COG will never see the light. So many of LSM will never see the light. I'm sad because I can't just go try it, man. Go try it. I can't now. I can't tell you go start with 2. I sure as hell ain't going to tell you to start with V3. No way. It's just like, man, this first one had to stay. So it's on the platform. You can still download it. You can still buy it. Cloud console, PC, Game Pass. It's no longer available. And I find this to be very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking indeed.
I hear you. I mean, again, surprising. Then the only thing I can think of is 2 things, which is we talked about Nobody Saves the World and potentially these Game Pass deals in the structure. And what we may be seeing is 1 year kind of cadences, right? Yeah. And then they come out. And then the other thing we got to think about, we always forget, is like they kind of, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but they kind of position themselves as the Netflix of gaming, right?
Mm.
And when we watch Netflix series, let's be honest, not everything in there stays in perpetuity. There is windows, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of, and I have no tangible evidence and no one's giving me some inside information, is just that as the service continues to get bigger, right? There comes the point where, okay, what's actually valuable from an engagement standpoint and what moves in and moves out. And I think that also could play a factor because we got to think long term. Are these games realistically going to stay in Game Pass forever in perpetuity? Like outside of first party studios? Because to me, what's more egregious is the We Happy Few situation, to be honest. No disrespect to Danganronpa.
No, it genuinely is, though.
Yeah, it's just more confusing is the word I should say. It's just like, why? Like, I understand you don't own Danganronpa. You know, that's a new deal, but but in your
I
defense,
get a lot of downloads in fairness, so.
No, but in your defense, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Danganronpa 1 came to the service by itself first? Or did
each one came by itself?
See, so which leads me to believe that 1 year then. That's what I can theorize. That it has to be that contractual thing. But to your point, it makes no sense still to separate the 2 and the 3 because you got the 2 and the 3, and you know what I mean? Like, so I get it, man. I'm dying to speak to people that are knowledgeable of the way the Game Pass structure is because, yeah, I guess long term, how does the subscription service evolve as it gets bigger and how they control in and out?
I'm trying to find Danganronpa 1 and when it came to Game Pass, and I think it might have been exactly a year ago.
Yeah, it seems about right. And we know when nobody saves the world, that seems about right too. You know, just around that year. So it looks like some of these, and from what I understand, not all Game Pass deals are created equal, right? But depending on the scope and size.
Wow.
There we go. So depending on the scope of the game, maybe they're giving out these 1 year deals to these indie games or, you know, smaller games, so to speak, and then let it rock right then and there. And then, you know, they're moving on to the next joint, like a Netflix style series where you had to catch it in that window and then they rotate it out. I mean, it's still on the platform.
Yeah. But what I'll say in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, please just download it, give it a try, see what it's all about. It's the most important game on the service right now. And I think it's very important you treat yourself to peak fiction. And if you aren't, you're just hurting yourself. And I don't want to see you hurt yourself. So I'm just going to ask you to please download this game and give it one fair shake for me. And you got 4 days left as of the time of recording this, really 3 when this goes live. And for the free feed listeners, you missed out, man. Sorry. But
you missed out.
Go buy it. It's like $15 now. I just looked. So
that's it. Yeah, get in there.
Look, I will say, go out to eat one day. You're fine. That's it. That's all.
Just don't eat any food for 1 day.
That's it.
That was all jokes aside. It pleasantly surprised me more than I thought. I thought I was going to be completely disgusted playing that game.
Sir?
I did. Yes.
You did not roll credits, sir.
Oh, right. So because I didn't roll credits,
you did not see through.
Oh, I didn't see the greatness
mission
that it was going to become.
Not activate me. I finished stupid Yakuza. I finished that shit. That should be off of Game Pass. No one needs to play that. No. Go.
I'm finished. I'm done. He said what he had to say. Fair enough. But I experienced what I needed to experience. It was worth the romp of the 6 to 8 hours that I put in.
End of the world. All right, it's time for our Game Pass pick of the week. I made an interesting selection here. So a little video was circulating on Twitter, and I was just like, I got to do what's right again, man. I got to be the voice of the people here. My Game Pass pick of the week is Dead Space 1. The original Dead Space 1 on Xbox 360. There was a video going around. They're like, Isaac can now remove his helmet and speak. And when I say this man got Peter Parkered from Spider-Man to PS4 to PS5, oh man, what happened? What did they do? What happened? Because for those who don't know, you do see Isaac's face, in the opening moments of Dead Space 1. He's older. He's great. He's got a little dark around his eyes. When I say this man now kind of looks like Spider-Man, PS4, PS5, Peter Parker, the new remastered face
Remastered one?
They
Yeah,
literally gave him that remaster treatment. I'm just like, what? That ain't Isaac. That is not Isaac. So it renewed a part of me to tell people one more time, just one more time. It's a 9-hour game to just look at the original, mess around with it. If it hooks you, let it hook you. If it doesn't, you can wait for the remake.
Oh, if it doesn't hook me, you're not gonna shame me that I didn't finish it?
No,
Okay,
I guess not. I guess not. Maybe
okay,
not
just
this one, because
continue.
the remake is so close. You got your heart set on it. I got to respect.
So I'll make sure I'm not shamed.
No. Not this one. This one I've crusaded for a while. If you've ignored me, you've made up your mind, and I totally respect you and understand you. I just feel bad for you because I'm just like, okay, you get to see Midzik is what I like to call him, man. This is the mid Isaac. This does not look like Isaac. Look up comparison photos. It's insane how different this guy looks. Insane. So on the other note, Dead Space is a phenomenal video game. I think it might be a little nice to see. You know, some of you may came off close to Protocol. We just did a spoiler cast for it over on Sacred Symbols Plus. We want to check it out. But some people liked it. Some people didn't like it. Some people want a little bit more. And I know a lot of folks are waiting for Dead Space remake, and I totally respect and understand that. Why would I play? Oh, look at that face. Hold on. Look at this man's reaction.
Yo, what they do to your man? Wow, that's bad.
Not even close, right? Not even close.
Yeah, that's not even close.
Suddenly, man, this was the week of reactivation, right? The reactivation of the Redfall fears. And then I saw that, and I'm like, do I really want to trust EA Motive like I was about to? Right? You saw me turn the corner at the end of the year. Maybe I was that burnt out, where I was like letting things slide that I typically wouldn't. But Dead Space remake otherwise looks great. But
he looked like he out of the WB. Like I'm regular the TV.
This is the CW. The CW.
Yeah, the CW. He looked like like your man before was like
he was grizzled, right?
He went through something. Yeah.
And all I'll say is this, right? People might look at Dead Space 1 and think, oh, it's an origin story. It's the first one. He's younger. No, because in Dead Space 2, it's only like, I think 2-3 years later in the timeline. Like there's not a significant leap. So Isaac looks relatively the same. He looks a little more great in 3. But he looks relatively the same throughout the whole trilogy. When I saw that, I was like, why? Like, this is one of those things where you just, why change this? So I felt motivated. I felt personally motivated, but also just as a reminder that like the original Dead Space is like, I think the best survival horror game of all time. And you owe it to yourself to play it, whether it be the remake or the original, it's up to you. But I think Dead Space 1 is still fantastic. I just played it through year and a half ago for a video. I'm actually going to play through it again for the Retro Rebound video I'm going to do on it. And then of course I'm going to dive into the remake for a review. So I'm excited, but I'm just letting people know like Dead Space 1, man, don't let EA Motive define your first experience. Don't let them do it because it could be great. And you could just be double dipping into a nice cozy pool. That's great. But you run the risk of having a bad taste in your mouth of what is one of the best survival horror games ever made. I don't want you to have that. So I'm just letting you know one more time, 9-hour video game. Even those of you with the fullest of full-time jobs, you got 8 kids.
There you go. This is the jab right here. He's coming from, he's like.
Actually, I wasn't, but I was just saying in general.
Let's go. Continue.
Fine. You can find time 2 hours, an hour a night. You got this done in a week, brother. So I feel like I believe in everyone out there listening. Dead Space 1 is calling your name. Do the right thing. Give it a download.
All right, so, I mean, I was thinking about running with Adam Sandler, though. The youth pastor over here that they're facing. I love it. I feel for you on this one. Yeah, that looks wild different.
Because I didn't think of this when we did our most anticipated list, but I'm not a guy who will let like looks put me off from a game. Since Isaac, fortunately, is masked for most of the game, I think this will, in all seriousness, be something you can look past. Spider-Man PS5, bro, when I was playing Miles Morales and I was caught with that flashbang, and I was like, oh, shit, I forgot they did that. I was like, what is this? Man looks horrible. Like, what happened to him? And they tried to act like, oh, we added more pores to his face and we added more detail to his face. You can see the follicles of this man's hairline. I'm like that was off-putting. So I'm just trying to prevent that for a lot of people here. And scary times, man. Scary times to live in. Change for the sake of change.
Yeah, man.
Final questions of the show. Adam Belgarby writes in, hey, Dukes. What's with the push from a lot of guys in the industry wanting to have devs make everything in Unreal Engine instead of their own in-house engines? Unreal 5 is truly unreal with Nanite and a lot of other tech that'll push us through this new generation. But I really do believe that each engine has its own charms. Some engines do movement better, some do detail, some do performance, and some do specific settings better, like anti-aliasing. Screw Rockstar's anti-aliasing in Red Dead 2. Have a wake up in the winter and it's almost dark again kind of day or night. Thank you, Adam. And yeah, it's that time of year, man, where you just like, it's like 4 o'clock and it's already dark. I'm like, this is so depressing.
I know.
So depressing.
So
because something's better, like, especially we work like later hours, even when we're taking good care of ourselves. And like, it's the summer and I come outside and it's still light out. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't feel like I burnt the whole day. Like, this is great. I can go do something. If I can go on a walk, a run, go to the gym, whatever. Anyway, Cog, Unreal Engine. How do you feel about it kind of being the lead engine, so to speak, in our industry? Like, for example, CD Projekt Red dropped the Red engine to go make the Witcher remake in Unreal Engine. And we've seen multiple instances of like Unreal being the attractive idea. There was rumors about, I think it was 343 working in Unreal and so on and so forth, although those may have been squashed to some extent, but there's been a lot of talk around Unreal being the lead engine in this new generation. So I'm curious for you, how you feel about things.
Side note, don't necessarily, I don't want to say the words believe that the Halo Infinite Unreal thing is squashed.
Yeah. I mean, like,
just stay tuned. Let's just say I'm standing on my square, and
I respect that, as you should, good sir.
From what I heard, but we'll see how that pans out. But anyway, back on focus. Look, Unreal is interesting because it's kind of the development darling over the years. Like, it's kind of, Epic has established it as one of the premier players. And full transparency, look, I am biased towards Unreal Engine only from the standpoint of a lot of the games with the highest graphic fidelity that I like tend to come out on the Unreal Engine, right? Now, there's some games I go to developers, I'm like, yo, what is that? And they're like, oh, this is Unity, or this is our custom engine, or whatever, right? And that's great too, don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I think what happens is that from a development standpoint, when you look at all the job resumes that go into a pool, right? Unreal has the more focus as far as the more tendrils that's out there that's available in the pool. So if you have more people with that type of job experience, think of it like a equivalent would be like an IT certification. Like, if you have so many people that did Windows security and they have Windows security certificates, and you know, hey, this is a Windows security style system that we're utilizing, your tools are going to be marry well. And then we hear the stories of engines that are not Unreal, right? Where they bring people in, there's that learning curve. So if you're not there from the beginning and you were there from the trenches, you built this thing, whatever, it's going to be a struggle for some. We've heard the horror stories. Shout out to the great Mark Dara that we had on, right? We talked about Anthem. We talked about, the Frostbite engine and, them switching to a proprietary engine mid-cycle. There's pain points that come with it. So I look at, I'll give PlayStation credit. Like, you look at like what they're doing with Decima and Kojima and stuff like that. He built it from the ground up. He's got his team and they're working together, right? But as an industry standard, there's just more people familiar with Unreal. That's all it is. I just think that each engine, yes, does have its own strengths and weaknesses. There's going to be things that people do better in their own custom engines that Unreal maybe not be able to do. But I will say that for employment purposes, it probably behooves someone to have that Unreal Engine certification, so to speak, so that, you can go around. But that's it. But I'm biased because, yes, I look at Gears and I'm just like, woo, oh boy, man, that looks phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Facial expression, certain things. Like, I look at some of the top games, I'm like, man, that looks really good. And, like a lot of Xbox Game Studios, we hear it switching to Unreal, Sony made the partnership with Unreal. I mean, remember at the start of the generation when they showed the engine demo, I believe that Nanite stuff, and it was showcased on PlayStation hardware, stuff like that. The tendrils in the industry by Epic are there. It's just, and the quality is there too. We can't say it's a bad looking engine, is what I would say.
Yeah, what I'll throw in there is, you put it perfectly. It's like it's a tool set, right? And each of these come with different pros and cons. And I think the thing that sticks out for a lot of developers with Unreal Engine is probably its customization. And also, I think time is a big factor here. We're learning more and more that, like, when it comes to AAA, just starting a new IP like today, you might be pushed out of this generation if you're going from the ground up, like just square one. And if you add a new engine into that, you're talking like a decade of building up to that, and there's no justifying that investment. So what you have is an already established next gen engine that you can work with. And I think what's most attractive to these teams about things like Unreal, Unity, is you almost have communities and support squads based around them, where you could, for example, why I have a lot of confidence in CD Projekt Red with Unreal and Epic and their Witcher remake is they're working directly with Epic. Like, they kind of have them on the phone. Hey, we can't figure this out. Let's call the people who made it, who know this thing inside and out, and have them give us the solution. I think there's something about that that's very appealing to developers, just having the ability to problem solve, because that's all game development is. Typically, making the thing is always going to be difficult, but it's the problem solving that comes with it, making sure everything functions as intended to the smallest pixel. And that is where troubleshooting helps. I work in Unreal Engine, and there are even moments like we'll just go online, Google our issue, is like, boom, there it is. There's our fix. Oh, wow, great. Unreal has a great handbook that you can just go through and pretty much find every existing issue and figure out. But I also think Unreal is attractive because its customization is nice. Like, you can hire people who specialize in different things within Unreal Engine. Very specific skill sets come with Unreal Engine. And that does make hiring kind of tough. Like, the person we have hired for Unreal Engine, I don't want to say what, but specifies in very particular things that we would need for our type of game in Unreal Engine. So it is interesting to see the conversation surrounding it, because it's I totally get how it looks from the outside. Like, yeah, a lot of people are using it. But what's good, because it's customizable, is like you can insert lots of different art styles into it, from pixel art to high fidelity. Like, you can do it all. Just look at Octopath Traveler. Like, you can do pixel mixed with 3D, or you can do a Plague Tale and just full 3D fidelity. Like, you can do what you want. It's just about how you do it, how you get the support for it, that type of stuff. So that's why I think it's an attractive engine, no doubt. But like Adam said, yeah, there are definitely strengths and weaknesses, and we don't know the ins and outs of those, because like we don't know why, say, Bethesda wants to use the Void engine for everything Arkane does. Why don't they use Unreal? I don't know. We know, for example, why Bethesda Game Studios uses Creation, and it's because of the modding capability. Like, the way that engine builds plugins and allows you to kind of inject your own content into the game without much complication, without breaking everything. That's the underrated part of the engine. It's the most discussed part of it, because people love mods for Bethesda games, but people forget that when they go, why doesn't they go to Unreal Engine? It's because, like, if they try to make it, you can't make something as modifiable as a Bethesda Game Studios game. Like, you just can't. Like, everything about it from top to bottom is modifiable. So it's interesting to see it develop. Just as someone kind of now on the inside of it all, just learning more about it. It's awesome to see. But you like I said, the biggest thing I've taken away is like it's definitely like just a tool set, and what do we need to accomplish our game. And I think the other thing is licensing fees. A lot of these developers go in house because that 5%, that 10%, whatever cut it may end up being, counts to them quite a bit. So they might be sitting there like, wow, we could make, like, if we sell 500,000 copies, that 10% cut out of it, like, we're losing X amount of dollars. Let's go make our own thing. We'll get all the money now, no licensing fees. But you saw what happened with something like CD Projekt Red, who had their own proprietary engine, Red Engine, and they bent the knee. They're like, fuck it, take the financial cut, because we need to make something good, and we probably would make more money just by volume of sales. So that's where we're at as an industry, I think. I think people are realizing that, like, the cut is worth the support, and that we can't, as games take longer to make, you can't afford as many hiccups in development anymore.
Yeah, we've seen it even with EA, with Vince and those teams. I was surprised when he came over there and he was able to not do stuff on Frostbite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It goes to show you.
Very problematic.
Yeah, it goes to show you.
All right, last question of the show here. Pretty interesting one to cap off on, focusing on developer direct. Elliot writes, happy 1 year closer to the heat death of the universe, boys. With the announcement of the Xbox Style Direct, I wanted to ask, are gamers spoiled? Xbox fans either get mad that we don't have constant updates and information for State of Decay 3, Fable, Avowed, games announced early but just not ready, and then they get mad if we don't get any new announcements, if they show us just games over the next 12 months. What is the right answer? This isn't just with Xbox fans. I see this happening now for PlayStation as well. Fans are mad about not getting information about Last of Us Factions because it was announced early. And then mad, saying it's unbelievable there's no PlayStation Direct coming out, which I imagine he's talking about the state of play. What right do we have as consumers of Xbox and PlayStation to demand directs and announcements? As we have bought the console, should we be holding them to a more traditional cadence of announcements? Should we stop asking/demanding the teams for new game announcements and instead appreciate the quicker turnaround from announcement to release? Help me, boys. You're my only hope. Thank you, Elliot. Appreciate this concluding right in. How do you feel? Are we spoiled? Are we asking too much of the big three for their showcases and what they need to deliver to us in the terms of content that's viewable in anticipation of our favorite video games?
I know this is a good. Shout out, this is a great question. I am conflicted because there's a part of me that I always like transparency, and I always like to kind of know what's going on, right? But at the same time, I do empathize with these companies on some level, and the fact that it's almost sometimes you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because you don't. If you look at the different approaches where you say, okay, you may get the JPEG, the little announcement trailer, not even showing gameplay, just saying that you're developing it, and then you don't hear from them, right? So first people say, hey, okay, we want to know what you're working on, what you're doing. You've been quiet. What the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. So you do the JPEG. Okay, boom. Maybe a year goes by. Yo, what the hell? We haven't heard anything on this game. What's going on? What you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So then you got that. Then, there's the flip side where it's like, okay, we show you the Hellblade trailer with the debut of the console. Oh my God, yo, this looks crazy. Then you're like, what the hell's going on with this game? Where's it? Like, you see what I'm saying? You can't win, bro. You can't. Something must be wrong. It's mismanagement. What's going? Like, you can't win. Mm-hmm. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. I'm not going to say gamers are not. Look, everyone. These games are $70. I get it. You paid your hard-earned. You want information. I get it, but there's a part of me that just says, like, okay, look, I'm of the mindset, and me and King have had this debate. I'm of the mindset that it is okay for your first time to say that you're working on something to either you can do your JPEG and maybe a vertical slice if it's ready, right? If your first showing is not gameplay, COG gives you a pass. Hey, you just announced that you're working on something. Okay, we know what you're doing. Looking forward to it. Okay. To me, there comes a point where it's like, okay, if time goes by, yeah, we're all curious. Hey, I want to know what the hell's going on with the Hellblade. Hey, I want to know what's going on with State of Decay. Yes. But at some point, I do like what Sony does, where it's like, yo, we're not telling you until we're ready to talk to you. We told you we're working on it, and it's coming. But see, the problem is, and unfortunately, and it's the last thing I'll say, and this is just Xbox fit. Xbox has done this to them. They've put themselves in this position because of the years that they've had in the past and the drought on the first party side. They are just not afforded the same, ish things that Nintendo and Sony are. Yeah. And because Nintendo and Sony have hit their targets more effectively, and the games from a first party standpoint have been more quality, and the frequency of them has been more. So that's what happens. And I think remember, I always make key point, until these games come out and are good, these games are good, all of this goes away. You won't hear the memes, you won't hear the jokes, you have those 90 Metacritic, it goes away. But they've got to execute. And until then, we won't have as much of this disparity. Yo, bro, what are they doing? All right, they just announced it. Yo, bro, that's it. What's going on? You can't win with it because you got to put out the quality.
No, well put. My only additional thought is I think To answer your question, Elliot, what right do we have as consumers of Xbox and PlayStation to demand directs and announcements? I think a lot of it comes down to emphasizing that Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, anyone needs to be responsible for timing of announcements. And I know there's more that goes into it. Like, you announce it so you can put on the pre-orders, you can get more return on investment if you're a publisher. Like, there are things that go into it, but typically what we see repeat all the time for the games industry is ignoring the greater good and how there could be even more massive payoffs down the line. Like, I think of what happened with Fallout 4. Like, that's an iconic announcement to release cadence, right? Like, it changed the industry, like how it made $12.5 million in an opening weekend after being announced in June and released in November. It's like, holy hell, bro, what? So what I'll say is I think it just emphasizes to these platform holders, Elliot, that they need to be responsible with when they announce their games. No one's going to be asking about Fable if they don't know about it, and you could play devil's advocate in all fairness and be like, well, what happens when they don't announce it? What happens when people are just asking, where's Fable? But I think that's a quieter noise that's easier to ignore because it's not something that exists. So it's not like a true, real, tangible problem in the face of the consumer versus what they do have, which is like Fable is announced. Avowed, I would say, is the best example. Like, Avowed got announced. There was the promise from Obsidian. You'll hear from us soon. We'll see you soon with more to show on Avowed. You don't have to wait long. And we waited very long now, probably this summer, right? Or now a developer direct at the end of the year. Who the hell knows, right? So I think it's about responsibility of announcement and release cadence. And if Xbox can get into that rhythm and the rest of the industry, where it's like, 6-month window, 8 months max, we can get that. Things happen, games get delayed. But if you can keep it within a year window from now on, I don't think people will really complain. What happens is when you're like Cyberpunk, you're announced in like a CG trailer in 2012, 2013. You come out, you're delayed again. No one wants the third delay, even though the third delay makes sense. And they keep delaying, but they don't, right? And that's what happens. The public pressure eats you up. So I just think it comes back to responsibility with when you announce your stuff. And if you put it out there, I think fans have every right to be like, what's going on? You could be nice about it, but like, I think you have every right to ask, what's happening with this thing, man? And there are certain ones where you can, again, use your reasoning ability and say like, Forza just sounds like it's ready when it's ready. Whereas Avowed, I think, is a genuine inquiry on like, hey, you made a promise. You showed it off. What gives? And I think it's fair to ask that question. And again, if Xbox doesn't want those questions, don't show it off. That's how I would look at it.
Bro, what are these studios doing in mismanagement? We don't know. They haven't showed anything.
Exactly, right. That's exactly what I think Elliot was getting into, right? You kind of can't win, right? So I get where you're coming from. There's no right answer here. I just think one isn't easier to ignore one. Like, y'all will shut up the second we show it and it's coming out soon. So just go wait. And if you create that expectation, which PlayStation has, there is a sense of restlessness. I think God of War was one. It was like, it's September. It's September. What's going on?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
that
cutting it a little too close, right?
You're right.
But if you got something, again, like 4 months, 5 months, 6 months out in advance for a known product, I think that's fine. So that's how I look at it. Obviously, there's different situations for these companies and they need to announce at different points, but I digress. That's everything we got for this episode. It was a very fun episode 106 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. Cog, this week's hashtag, man, DD Direct. Now that's a triple D, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a triple. That's a triple. But I was literally, we was in the same podcast. I was like, it's got to be direct. So direct DD,
direct DD. I like that. Yeah. I like reverse that. So got this deep in the episode. You want to let us know your thoughts? You can tag us on Twitter. I'm at G27status. That's at Lord Cognito. Use the hashtag DirectDD. If you're not on social media, no problem. You can use the comment section down below. Hashtag DirectDD. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. And with that, Cog, any closing thoughts here for episode 106, or shall we move on with our night?
Big one, man. Big one. We got breaking news. It was fun as always. Pushback in the episode. We did that. So it was great. You know, I got to always tease on that one. But no, it was fun. It was fun to get to catch up. And I'm looking forward to it, man. We're talking games again. So this is exciting.
Yes, sir. It feels fun. It feels a lot of fun doing this show compared to last year where it was just like, what's going on with Xbox and Activision? Oh, boy. So
exactly.
Here we are now talking about games, and it won't be too much longer till we talk about what's being shown off. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week for episode 107 of Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast. And until then, take okay care of yourselves. We'll talk to you then. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.